Your morning just got more interesting. Distilled and barrel-picked for your listening pleasure. Bo Bishop, a local sports media legend. What William T. Sherman was to the Union Army, he is to Northern College football. A husband, a father, and middling youth sports coach. He's friends with Central Ohio sporting royalty.
I'm talking to Ohio State Athletic Director Ross Bjorken. Coach Day walking on with us right now. Good to see you, buddy. Good buddy Austin Ward. My good buddy Tim May, the Tim May Show. The great Doug Lavery's joining us.
Hi, everybody. Dom Tiberi here.
Oh, Reese came in and he handed me papers.
Yeah,
and then he said, "You see that button? That's the only button you need to worry about. Don't touch. There's 8,000 buttons in front of me." Oh, I didn't know what he was talking about.
The one that says on.
We blew the budget on this imaging, and only two guys answered our ad on Craigslist. Ryan Baker and Eric Reeser. Act accordingly. You're now listening to Bishop and Friends.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years.
All right, let's do it live on a Thursday edition of the program. Your emails coming up at 10 o'clock. Another full mailbag to get through. 10:30, Paul Finebaum going to join us 11 o'clock. A little higher or lower. 11:30, a little bit of Shelly time. The Buckeye basketball team, the hockey team, all in action tonight with the Blue Jackets out in Vegas. It's always a fun chat with Joe to see how things are progressing out in the city of sin. The worst job I ever had was after my senior year of high school. In my mind's eye, the way that I remember it was my parents saying something to the effect of, it's enough of these cushy days working on the Ponderosa, fixing fence and picking rock and all of this stuff. You're going to see how the real world works, and you're going to go get one of these jobs. And so my dad knew a guy who was one of the bosses at this business called Intercontinental Truck Body. And what they did there is they took 3/4 ton, 1 ton pickup trucks, Ford, Chevy, whatever, and then they would put boxes on them and turn them into box trucks for various businesses. So you'd take the truck, you'd take the box off the truck, and then you'd put like the big box for transport on the back of it. And so the idea was, you're going to see what the real world's all about, kid. And so I did. And the shift was 4 to noon. And coming out of your senior year of high school, you can imagine, a 3 o'clock wake up call to be at work at 4 a.m. is not exactly ideal. To further my disgust of this job, what I had to do now, it paid decent. So that was, the other part of it. Like, this is really hard work, but, in terms of, someone with very little qualifications, it paid pretty well. But I remember distinctly that the job that I had to do was basically I would make parts for the welders. So I would cut pieces of steel on a giant, stamp steel cutter, and then I would hand them to the welders, and they would weld the truck boxes onto the back of the pickup trucks. And so that's the way that the gig worked. I remember specifically this, and I don't know why this sticks in my head, but I remember the smell of somebody trying to eat a bologna sandwich at 8 o'clock in the morning making me almost gag. Like, I just couldn't even wrap my head around eating that. It was an awful job. I was exhausted constantly. I remember, on Sunday mornings, just the dread of realizing that I would have no sleep Sunday night because you couldn't possibly get the body clock turned around from a Friday, Saturday night of having a good time after your senior year of high school into going into work. And I remember that vividly. And I did the job for probably about 90 days, and I got mono. And it was the greatest gift in the history of the world. The mono was so bad that I had to go on IV into the hospital. I was in the hospital for a couple of days. You don't usually go to the hospital for mono, but I went into the hospital, Ponderay Medical Center, Conrad, Montana, and I was in there overnight, and I got IV, and I got well, and I was kind of laid up for a week or so. And I remember thinking, when I was in the hospital bed with IV, thinking, my God, this is the greatest illness in the history of the world. I don't have to do this job anymore. That was the best win ever. Worst job you guys ever had?
I don't know if this was worst necessarily. I worked one summer, no names please, at it's local. Mm-hmm. It's a very well-known business, mm-hmm. and they had children's rides. So this was maybe...
You were a carny?
Yes. This was fresh going into sophomore year of college. And so all that summer I wanted to do was be back in Athens.
Yeah, you did.
And every day, I mean, this was an early wake-up call. I mean, the job was fine because I did construction my senior year going into freshman year, but I really enjoyed doing that because it's just manual labor. Like, here's a hammer, smash this or break this, or I mean, you can't really mess too many things up, but just having to, like, when you're tired or maybe it had too much the night before because it's a Tuesday in the summer, and what do you mean I'm not having a beer? The balancing, dealing with parents and kids and management who always wants you to be perky and peppy.
Sure.
And you could, obviously, if you know me well enough, you know that, like, it's not me all the time.
You're like Cousin Greg when he's at the amusement park.
Yes, that's how I felt a great many times.
I don't know if I've ever really had a job that I disliked a lot, but I will say my dad has been a brick and block mason my whole life, and I've worked with him off and on throughout growing up and then after getting out of school and everything. And I'll tell you what, when you're carrying 12-inch block in 95-degree heat, that'll wear you out a little bit.
Well, that's why you have that physique that you have, buddy. That's where all that strength comes from, all the years of that. I liked all the manual stuff I did because it was like you unknowingly were getting in shape. Like when I was young, I enjoyed all of that stuff. I enjoyed picking rock, enjoyed any sort of building. I delivered beer for a couple of summers, which was awesome because if there was breakage, you got to get it, which was good. I did
one
that
for you, one for me.
Yeah, it was a big win baking. Start doing a little breakage. I worked at a golf course one summer, which was crazy. So all sorts of stuff. But Intercontinental Truck Body was the biggest suck ever. Great people, and it was a good business. They ended up selling it. Doesn't exist. It exists, but not where I grew up. I told you all that to tell you this. I've come to the realization that coaching college football is the best job in sports. Compensation is richly and well-deserved. The job you're doing, the actual job, the coaching of it, is pretty great, right? I mean, it's sports. But everything else is an absolute mess. It's an absolute mess. And so when I see this story of Justin Fry interviewing for the Bear job, as the Chicago Tribune reported that he's interviewing for the offensive line coach of the Chicago Bears, you say to yourself, yeah, I'm sure he is. If you were given an NFL offer or the NFL had interest in you and you are currently embroiled in what college football is and you didn't take it, you would almost, or at least have the conversation and be interested. It's a failure of an intelligence test. There is the way that it is for these guys right now is really no downtime, no personal time. They're just chasing relentlessly, one thing after another. So when I get a bunch of texts, can you believe this? Yeah, I can. It's an up at dawn siege that never stops. There's no contract. There's nothing you can rely on. The line from Glengarry, Glenn Ross, get them to sign on the line which is dotted. Well, the signature doesn't mean anything. The line which is dotted doesn't exist. There is no contract. There is no end of sale. It's perpetual sale. Again and again and again and again. And every time, okay, we've done it. Nope. Next. Timmy's hopping in the portal. Okay. Or threatening to hop in the portal. Get me this money or I'm going to go to Big State. I mean, that's where we're at right now. Like, these are among the most fun, best jobs you could ever have. But right now, it's brutal. It's brutal. So if the Chicago Bears offer Justin Fry, do I think he would take it? Yeah. I think he'd be crazy not to, the way this sport is being run right now.
Yeah, his contract's up with Ohio State on January 31st. So if you're near a calendar, that's tomorrow. The Bears yesterday hired, or not yesterday, but they hired Press Taylor, which a great name for an offensive coach, and he's their passing game coordinator now in Chicago under new head coach Ben Johnson. And so you do like the coaching tree, and it all connects to Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense, right? With Chip wanting to go from – Chip did the same thing. He did the college ranks and then said, the NFL, I just got to coach ball and they're going to pay me more. Absolutely. And for Justin Fry, who's been, I think, coaching in college since like early 2000 or mid 2000s, like it could be time.
Yeah.
And Bo, I think around here sometimes we forget Ohio State isn't the pinnacle of football. Like the National Football League is the pinnacle of football, and if
start fights here,
it depends on what people's why is. Do they want to go play and coach at the highest level? And if they want to do that, that's in the NFL, and it's easier to do that. It's probably a better quality of life now in the NFL.
I think you're right, but coming up next, I'll tell you how you didn't used to be right. We will get into that. Take a look at the sports calendar last night. Busy sports night ahead of us tonight. We're off and running on a Thursday. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
If you miss a live show, you can catch the podcast. If you miss the podcast, our hosts have volunteered to have dinner with you.
Ma, the meatloaf!
The Fan.
Everyone deserves a fast and reliable connection. One that helps better their everyday through the things they value most. Friends and family, education and career. A connection that opens pathways to opportunity and builds roads to a better future. At Spectrum, we're committed to delivering just that every single day. Because with the right connection, anything is possible. That's Life Unlimited. That's Spectrum.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Aaron, look what I invented.
Jerry, you're wearing a cape.
Get Eco.
ECO.
What is it that you promise our customers, Aaron?
We come through for you when you need us to.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Do you know who does that, Aaron?
We do?
Superheroes do that, Aaron. Superheroes!
I'm guessing you make capes for everyone?
That's right. Every plumber, electrician, and HVAC technician. But I'm not done, Aaron. I'm not done.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Now I'm inventing jetpacks so we can fly to the rescue like proper superheroes. Now say your line again.
We come through for you when you need us to?
No, say it like this. We come through for you when you need us to.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Jerry.
Yeah, Aaron?
How about we put those capes in the closet until you get the jetpacks perfected?
We'll look right when we take flight.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Eco. Plumbers, electricians, and HVAC technicians. GetEco.com.
Get your seat in the shop to watch Ohio State men's ice hockey this Thursday, January 30th, and Friday, January 31st. Join the Buckeyes as they take on Michigan State. There are only a few more home series left, so don't miss the chance to see the Buckeyes at home. Buy your tickets at OhioStateBuckeyes.com.
Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone. Guys, listen up. How many of you out there have been diagnosed with sleep apnea? Maybe your partner can't tolerate your snoring every night. You can't stand your CPAP machine. I totally get it. But the good news is there are alternatives to the CPAP machine. And Dr. Mark Levy is here to change your sleep and your life. Trust me, your spouse will thank you later. Dr. Mark Levy can customize an oral appliance that opens your airways, helps you breathe better, and, of course, stops your snoring. That's the main point. It's quick and comfortable and an alternative to those bulky, loud CPAP machines you always hear about. For over 15 years, Dr. Mark Levy has led the way when it comes to treating snoring and sleep apnea, and now he's expanding his practice to better serve his patients with a brand new location in Marysville. I love Marysville. If you're snoring and not sleeping, you need to call Dr. Mark Levy's office today. Do not delay. Schedule your appointment today with Dr. Mark Levy at 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. That's 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. You can also visit him online at sleepbettercolumbus.com. And now, sleepbettermarysville.com too.
Care Heating and Cooling. When you need a company you can trust, call 1-800-COOLING.
The Buckeyes are national champions. And you listen to it all right here on The Fan. And next year when they do it again, it'll be here on The Fan. And the year after that, well, you know the drill. Always and forever, your home of the Buckeyes. The Fan.
If you recently lost health coverage due to a life change, healthcare.gov is here for you. Like it was there for Marcus when he lost his job. And Keisha when she turned 26 and lost her parents' insurance. And Elena when she went off Medicaid. There are many other ways to qualify. Visit healthcare.gov today to see if you're eligible to enroll. Limited time to enroll. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Today we're going to be looking at increasing clouds as we get closer to the afternoon. High 48. Tonight, looking at rain moving in, low 40. Very warm on your Friday, high 58 degrees. We will be looking at a very wet and rainy day tomorrow. Colder on Saturday, 41 with the return of the sunshine. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 TV weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
News, opinions, and insight all before breakfast. Rise and shine with Morning Juice.
Weekdays starting at 6.
The Fan, Ohio's sports destination. Sports conversation that's worthy of a toast, or at least a stiff drink. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, Beck, you said in the previous segment when we were discussing coaching college football right now that, coaching at Ohio State isn't the pinnacle that coaching in the NFL is. I think that you're probably right now. I don't think you were right a decade ago. And I think what college football had going for it 10 years ago, 15 years ago, from a coaching perspective, is you got control of your entire roster. You decided how good you were. Your compensation was, in many instances, the NFL has only recently caught up to and now passed college football in terms of compensation for coaches. But for a great many of the years from the early 2000s through probably 2015, 14, 15, something in there, college football coaches were the highest paid at the top of the sport. At a place like Ohio State, they would be at the top of it. I mean, this was a pretty cush job back in the day. When I first started covering major college football in the early 2000s, they were off in the summer. There was no summer workouts. Nothing was supervised. Like, the players went home and they were off. And I remember, like, Bobby Bowden, that was golf circuit time, baby. He's playing a lot of golf. There were Nike trips to Hawaii, to the Caribbean that you'd go on with wife, and you'd meet other coaches. And it was a lot of golf outings. It was a lot of that type of stuff. It was fundraisers. It was everything. Everyone was always very, very excited to see you. You weren't having to ask people for money directly the way they are now. Your players were your players. You had control over the roster. You want to transfer, fine, but you're going to have to sit out a full year. Are you going to give up a year of your college playing career to transfer to somebody else, to somewhere else? And I control my roster? You're telling me that the kids that I go recruit and sign, if I'm better than you at that, then I win. That's what Saban figured out in the NFL pretty quickly. That at LSU, and he just talked about this a couple of weeks ago, how he regretted, if he had one thing he could do over, it would be that he would never have left LSU. And it had nothing to do with the failures he had in Miami. At least that's what he claims. But what he probably realized pretty quickly was, I'm not in charge of my roster anymore. This is a draft. I can't just outwork somebody to put my roster together. That used to be the way that college football was. It's gone now. And I think you are right now that there are a great many NFL jobs that are better than the college jobs right now because of the way this sport is being governed. The lack of the way that the sport is being
governance?
Yeah.
You talked about the
lack of rules.
The compensation from the NFL catching up. Wasn't it Bill Belichick kind of one of the first to really have total control of his roster and be the head coach? Like, in the NFL, it didn't feel like it's ever been a coach goes shopping for the ingredients that he's going to cook with.
There was the big Bill Parcells presser in the mid-90s where he said, you ought to be able to pick your groceries. And his beef was with, if memory serves, was his beef with New England and Bob Kraft, and then he went to the Jets. Did he go coach the Jets, Parcells? I think he did. I think he went from Patriots to Jets. That's the first time I remember it.
He did.
He did? Okay.
Yeah.
I think I have that right, that he was upset with Kraft and ownership with New England. And he had that great press conference. He said, they ought to let you go pick they ask you to cook the dinner. You ought to be able to pick the groceries. And that was his beef with New England at that time.
It looks like to get to New England, it was Jets owner Leon Hess at the time gave Parcells complete control over football operations.
Yeah. So Jimmy Johnson had that with the Cowboys. And when he first got that job, that was something that it was around that time, late 80s, early 90s, where you started to get, a little bit of full control. But even when we talk about full control, it's not really, because you're the subject to a draft. right? I mean, like in college football, if you want the best quarterback in the country, you had to sell him. You had to sell him all his potential and making him a star and readying him for the NFL. That's the job. That's what that job was. Now, there still is some of that job, but there's also nothing keeping them here beyond their own want to and whatever someone is willing to pay. And so when you see these things like, the Justin Fry and all of this stuff, like it's a natural progression of this is a great job. You get to coach college football, and the reward of it is incredible, right? I mean, there's so much glory that comes with this financially. It's an incredible baseline of standard of life. Yes, absolutely. But if you ask guys on this staff, how many true days off do you get a year? My guess is it's less than 7. I'd be shocked if it's more than, true off. Like unplug, no phone, go with my family, get me to some place where it's warm with the beach and the sand and all of that. I bet it's less than 7. Well, that's not the case in the NFL. NFL right now, you're at the Senior Bowl and you're doing some of that stuff, but a lot of that work has been done in terms of the scouting. They'll have a couple of weeks off before they go to the combine. Then they'll have a week or so off, and then they'll do free agency. Then they'll have a couple of weeks off, and then they'll get into the mandatory stuff. Then you get into the summer, and you're off from once mandatory minicamp. You're off for really a month in the NFL. You're off from like the second week of June until the last week in July. You're pretty much off. Now, they don't just disappear. Like, they still come by the facility, but you can go on vacation for 2 weeks. You want to go do Europe? Fine, live. It's a standard of life. This current situation you're in college football, all of the rest of the stuff is still pretty good, but the quality of life is tough sell. It's a tough sell, especially for people who have options, Bake.
And you talk about that. Just look at Ryan Day right now. He just won a national championship. Not only is he doing the media tour, but he's out recruiting as well while he's doing all of this. It's insane, the schedule he's had even after the national championship game.
Absolutely. And he's doing it via private jet. The assistants are flying around. Like, just won the national championship a week ago Monday, and they've been recruiting nonstop ever since. They're out on the road. That's the gig. Yeah, it's tough. I did see this, speaking of the Ohio State staff, I saw this yesterday in the Dispatch, I think was the original reporting that an Ohio State quality control coach, Joe Lieberger, who worked with linebackers, received a letter from the school on December 27th informing him that he would be placed on paid leave effective immediately, would not be allowed at the Buckeyes facility. According to the letter, Lieberger is instructed to immediately return all university property and keys and not to delete any emails, documents, or materials produced during your tenure as an employee. The letter did not specify the allegations against. I've never heard of this guy. His attorney did have a statement that they don't know what he's been charged with, and so there's a process that's going to be here on this. We'll keep tabs on it. I've never heard of him. But I'm not in the business of knowing quality control coaches at Ohio State either. Like, that's a little bit deep even for me.
It's kind of crazy to me that this all happened on December 27th, that Ohio State was able to keep this all quiet until now through this playoff run and everything. And like you said, just a quality control coach. Nobody really knows who he is, and him being gone, probably a lot of people didn't even notice. And there was a lot going on, obviously, but that's pretty crazy.
What was the line from Succession? And I don't know the severity of this, so maybe ill-timed to make a joke, but what was it? No real person? Wasn't that what he would always say?
It's what the crew incident,
the cruise
guys. Line incident, yeah.
So who knows? We'll continue to kind of keep an eye on this. I'm with you, Bake. It's surprising that it didn't come out until now or yesterday, but indeed it did not. All right, loaded up tonight. You've got Buckeyes at Penn State. Pregame starting at 5:30 on the Fan. That's a 6:30 tip in State College.
More,
That'd
please.
Be early.
I think 5:30. Yeah, like you said, coverage. And Jim Knowles will show up. Because they'll have, don't they have at some of these events, at some of these bigger schools, a DC comes up, like, welcome, your new defensive coordinator.
Oh, that would be great. I didn't even think of that. Introduce Knowles tonight at the basketball game.
I think it's a lock. First big event they've had since he was announced. Yeah, I think it's a lock.
And Jake Diebler can throw a basketball at him. Oh, I'm sorry. Slipped.
I tell you, Deebs, if he can pull this off and get them into the postseason, incredible job. If he can get there. Right now, they're on the last four in, that type of line. They're bubble, absolutely. If they can win a couple of games in a row and get a little program momentum to keep this thing on the tracks with everything he's had to deal with, great job for him. First job. He's got to finish it. Got to get there. But he's in position now if they can win a couple in a row. We'll do a little Shelley time coming up at 11:33. Jackets out in Sin City against the Golden Knights. That one is late. That's a 10 o'clock puck drop on that one. You mentioned Ryan Day and the media tour he is on. It continued yesterday on the Kelly Clarkson show. He's tracking them all in. He also had something very interesting to say with Ernie Johnson and Charles Barkley in regard to his goals at Ohio State. That's coming up in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends, right here on The Fan.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6759. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6759. That's 800-575-6759. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Home values in Columbus are sky high, and you have a ton of equity. Your financial advisor thinks the market has peaked. So if you're thinking about selling, it's time. Except for two things. High interest rates will burn you on a new home loan, and you're not ready to move. Savvy financial advisors suggest Truehold's new Sell and Stay program. It's ingenious because they buy your home now while its value is high, but you can stay in your home as long as you want with an easy, affordable lease. Smart, right? Truehold will make you a solid cash offer, not a lowball offer like the others. It's based on your home's current value. The cash is yours to travel, pay off bills, or secure your retirement. And again, you can stay in your home with a comfortable lease. Truehold covers property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. See how much Truehold will pay for your home today. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out your home's value without moving. That's Truehold.com.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
What's up?
What's up, man? What's up with you?
All right, here's what's up on a Thursday edition of the program. Ryan Day continuing the media blitz. I was unaware that Kelly Clarkson had a talk show. That happened. That's in like the late afternoon type syndicated situation.
Sure.
Did she replace an Ellen DeGeneres?
I know, like Drew Barrymore's got one too. It could have been, yeah. That does sound about right.
So Oprah used to have this years ago. Like this was the Oprah slot. You guys ever any point of reference on a Sally Jesse Raphael?
Oh, yeah. My best friend in high school, his mom always looked like she had that Sally Jesse Raphael look with the short blonde hair and the red glasses, looked just like her.
You like that, Big?
I mean, I didn't do anything for me, but...
Yeah, so that's it. That's kind of that window. So he was on with Kelly Clarkson. I'll tell you the game changer on this is when Jerry Springer went rogue. That's when afternoon daytime TV flipped.
There's a documentary on Netflix that I just watched of that.
Yes.
Where it just all of a sudden they bring in a new producer for Jerry Springer and it just turns.
Yeah, it's like in Seinfeld when they decide, like, they bring in Jim Fowler with the Falcon and they're doing the animals and all that. That's in the Merv Griffin show set. Like, it's that all of a sudden Jerry Springer went from like, oh, just an average talk show to all of a sudden, oh, we're going to fight.
From the mayor of Cincinnati
baby.
To the mayor of Smut TV.
Killed it. Absolutely crushed it. Yeah, he crushed it. And then Maury Povich got in on that too. And he was kind of doing that a little bit. And Maury Povich's dad was Shirley Povich, who was one of the like legendary writers at the Washington Post. But he would do he did that act too. Like the pregnancy thing was his thing. Like,
it's so wild. Father? Like Maury Povich is married to Connie Chung.
Yes.
And like they're just completely different styles of broadcasting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, can you imagine?
What are those conversations like?
I think this just gave me a new idea for a fan call-in show sounder. You are not the father.
That's right. That's the way that went. So Ryan's on the media tour in between recruiting and everything else. He was on Kelly Clarkson. This has got to be some great stuff here. Here he is on the ups and downs of the season.
Year for us. We had a great group coming back. A bunch of guys who had an opportunity to go to the NFL decided to come back and play with their teammates. They all love being Buckeyes. And so along the way, there was a lot of twists and turns this season. And we overcame a lot of adversity down the stretch and really went on the best run in the history of college football in the last 4 games.
Damn
and I'm just
straight.
happy for those guys.
She got the damn straight in.
Talk about drops for the call-in show.
I was thinking about
Kelly Clarkson.
I was thinking about him, like, how do you even prep for this interview versus, I mean, because he's done everything. So, like, he's done Dan Patrick. He's done all of the national stuff, did Chuck and Ernie's show, all of that. We'll get to some of his comments on that wanted to expand upon in a second. But, like, the crazy thing is that she asked him about the Michigan loss. Like, this, she got that in too. So here you go.
As the coach, it's your job when things don't go well to take accountability, get things fixed. But when things go well, I mean, you got to spread the love. And so it was our players, it was our staff, it was our fans. Everybody came together at the end. And like you said, overcame adversity because there was a point in the season where not a lot of people gave us a chance. And then we went on a great run.
This one was unique in that Ryan's lovely wife, Nina, was with him. She talked about Ryan's competitiveness on the show.
We were on the same T-ball team when we were 6 years old, and I was in right field picking dandelions, and he told me to get focused, and I thought, this kid's crazy.
I didn't realize they knew each other since they were 6. That's pretty great. It's a hell of a love story there.
Yeah. Well, I believe Nicole Sheeran did a whole piece on that earlier this year in the football season about their story and how long they've known each other. And I can't remember, like Nina said she knew in like 1st or 3rd grade or something like that, her and Ryan were going to be together.
That's great. Yeah, that is spectacular. Great stuff there. Yeah, it's a very different interview. And yet he still has to answer with every single one of these. He's had to answer, the Michigan question. It's in every interview that he's done post winning the national championship. The one thing he said that I wanted to dig in on here a little bit, it surprised me. It was in the Ernie Johnson, Chuck Barkley podcast where he talked. They asked him. I never heard anybody ask him this question, but the question asked to him was, "What's next for you? What do you want to do at Ohio State?" And he brought up something that I haven't considered or thought about ever in all my years around here. And that was the notion of being the first coach since Woody Hayes to win multiple national championships at Ohio State. I never thought about that. Covering Tress. There was always this chase of trying to go get the second one, and they were obviously very, very close in 2006. Played for again in 2007. Threes his senior year with Marcus and Threes and Malcolm Jenkins, Beanie Wells, Todd Beckman back for his senior year, Terrell Pryor coming in. They started that year ranked number 1 in the country. Obviously, Urban had a lot of bites at that apple. 14, they won it. 15, they probably his most talented team. But I during any of the coverage of or the times that we've spent talking about Tress's run or Urban's run, at no point did I think, well, why, if you get the second one, then you can tie Woody, or then you can be the first guy, not tie Woody, you can be the first guy since Woody to win 2. And Ryan put that out there. Be the first guy here to win 2. And I tell you what, I said this in December. I stand by it now. I think that there was a time where he was, if the right NFL thing popped up, he would have chased it, and I don't blame him. And now there is something different, and there's something else now to track down, and this notion of trying to track down Woody Hayes. It's admirable. It's a hell of a goal to put out there. Do you think he'll be here long enough to see it through? Can you coach? Urban said this years ago. Like I remember it was in regard to Bowden, I think at the time, but this notion of like being someplace 20 some years or 30 years. I don't know that any of that's going to happen anymore. I think you got at most a 10-year window, and that's probably being generous.
Just about to ask. So 10 years, he's going to be in year 7 in the 2025 season. would you say yes or no to Ohio State winning a national championship in year 7, 8, 9, or 10 for Ryan Day? In the next 4 years, does Ohio State get another one?
Well, if they're going to, it would feel like right now they're the most set up for it. Because you have quarterback lineage, you have recruiting class talent, you have transcendent players. You have four. And for next year, you have Caleb Downs, and then he'll be gone. But they've recruited it at a really high level. It does feel like that, and you said this, Reese, coming out of, I can't remember if it was in the lead up to the national championship or right after it, that this is the healthiest the Ohio State program has been. That's tough to try to quantify, but I would agree with you that it's as healthy as it's ever been. In terms of their ability to be organized on NIL, to be great at recruiting, and to be able to walk into any quarterback's room and say, come play here. And as long as Brian Hartline's on this staff, you're going to be able to go to the best receivers. I mean, they got Chris Henry coming in here. He's next. It's just a relentless pursuit of skill position players on the outside. So, yeah, I think they're going to get a lot of bites at this apple. But I think also when we have that conversation about Justin Fry and you have the conversation about Jim Knowles going to Penn State, folks, this is so fleeting. That's why I said last week in the afterglow of the national championship, like, man, drink this up. Drink this up, because I don't know that any of us appreciate how hard this is going to be. We went over that when we were talking about the futures next year for the national championship. To me, there's upwards of like 13 teams that are kind of all similar. And I think that's where you're headed in college football, where it's going to be a little bit more like college basketball, where there will be a bunch of teams who can kind of make a run at it. So if he gets to, and at this point, it'll be his choice, but if he gets to year 10, year 12, what do I think they'll win another one if he's there? If he doesn't leave on his own to go to the NFL? Probably. I mean, we're kind of on a win one every 10-year scale right now. So that would put you out into the 2030s, obviously. But no, I think it's set up very, very well. And I just appreciate, he obviously found something very satisfying in talking out loud about their goals last offseason leading into the season. It was cathartic for him to say it out loud, to win the rivalry game, win the Big Ten, win the national championship. They openly talked about it. I don't remember any of Tressel's teams like just openly talking about go win the national title. I don't remember any of Urban's teams saying go win the national title. It was much more micro than that type of comment to say, hey, let's go win the ultimate prize. But it worked for him. And so I like it. And the question is, will he be here without NFL wooing long enough? That will be kind of the only thing that prevents it. But everything else, it's set up for it. It really is. And he's signing up for it now, too, to be able to try to do it. And you like where the program is right now. The Athletic put together their college football 2025 picks. Where do they see the Buckeyes landing? We will get to that coming up. Your email's coming up at 10 o'clock. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
This promo is brought to you by Common Man and Timmy Hall's Ping Pong Game. The Fan.
I wish I'd gotten treated for my erectile dysfunction sooner. Men, I hear this all the time from our patients. This is Jeff for Tri-State Men's Health, and if ED is a problem in your life, resolve to get it treated today and stop having it affect you and the one you love. ED is simply a medical condition, and it's fully treatable. And at Tri-State Men's Health, we have treatments that are effective in well over 90% of cases, which means if you're like most guys, your ED will be a thing of the past. In fact, you could be having great sex within a day or two of your first appointment, and you'll likely find you're performing like you haven't in a long time. It's the new year. Resolve to get your ED treated and change your life. Call us at Tri-State Men's Health. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 800-900-9654 or go to tristatemenshealth.com. That's tristatemenshealth.com. Tri-State Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice.
It's been a great run. Care Heating and Cooling has achieved goals I could only imagine 30 years ago. But now it's time for the next generation to take over. This is Mike Weens, now the retired founder of Care Heating and Cooling with my sons, Dennis and Ryan.
Dad, as Care grew over the years, you had many opportunities to sell Care to one of the big conglomerates that are buying companies all over Central Ohio. So tell our customers why you decided to keep Care in the family.
After talking about Care's values for over 30 years, I couldn't bear the thought of Care becoming the kind of company I was warning our customers about. I know the two of you will continue to treat our customers as I would, with honesty and integrity.
We will, Dad. In 2024, Care was awarded a BBB Torch Award for Ethics and was named the Lennox Partner of the Year. You don't earn those awards by leaving cat toys behind.
Call Care Heating and Cooling at 1-800-COOLING or schedule an appointment online at careheatingandcooling.com. When you need a company you can trust.
Giant Eagle is making it easy to surround yourself with the sound of freshness. With new low prices on hundreds of your favorite produce items, so you save on all the crunch, all the flavor, all the just pick goodness you love. Surround yourself with savings every time you shop with new low prices on apples, carrots, lettuce, celery, and more. Enjoy fresh savings on fresh produce at your neighborhood Giant Eagle.
Get your seat in the shop to watch Ohio State men's ice hockey this Thursday, January 30th and Friday, January 31st. Join the Buckeyes as they take on Michigan State. There are only a few more home series left, so don't miss the chance to see the Buckeyes at home. Buy your tickets at ohiostatebuckeyes.com.
Are your feet stopping you from being active and making it difficult to get healthier? Trade in your bad feet for good feet. Wouldn't it be nice to work, walk, and play pain-free again? Visit the Good Feet store today or visit goodfeet.com.
We have a lot of football happening. I'm here to help. Set your radio preset to the Fan. Very good. Now set a second one to ESPN Columbus. It's the HD2 button. Lastly, go to the Fan's HD3 and save the Fan 3. Crisis averted. You're welcome.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season. I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text GRIT to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text GRIT to 42424. That's GRIT to 42424. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
All your favorite Fan shows are available when you want them.
Head to 971thefan.com and hit that subscribe button.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. Drink recommendations, movie reviews, sports discussion, or whatever the hell Reeser does. This is Bishop and Friends.
All right, our friends at The Athletic, via the New York Times, picking their way too early 225 college football picks. They have a rematch happening in the national championship, a rematch of the opening game of the season anyway. They have Ohio State, Texas playing not once but twice next year. They also have Jeremiah Smith atop of the Heisman race as well. It's hard for me to imagine a scenario where Texas wins the national championship or is the #1 team in the country for much of the year and Arch Manning doesn't win the Heisman.
No, it's directly correlated.
Feels like it, right?
Like if Texas is going to run the table, meaning they win in Columbus on August 30th, and then I think their schedule has Alabama and Georgia on it, he's hoisting the stiff arm trophy. Like that has to happen almost.
And if they do that, Colin Simmons has to be sophomore of the year, right?
You'd think.
Do they have an award for? So they probably do.
I don't think they do. But
probably have sophomore of the year, junior of the year. It's coming if they don't, because that Sean Alexander Award's only been around since Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, there's this much is sure, this much is certain that all of this offseason, and Stuart Mandel put one out last week, a top 25 that had Penn State #1. I think the only thing that keeps Penn State from being #1 kind of across the board is who their head coach is. I think that's it. They have everything else. I mean, you got both backs back. You got the veteran quarterback. We went through this yesterday. Like, just go through the teams who are in any sort of preseason top 25, and there are new quarterbacks everywhere. I mean, this is how the voting broke down on The Athletic of their writers of who will win the national championship. Texas got 15 votes. The next highest was LSU with 4. Penn State had 3, Georgia 2, Ohio State 2, Oregon 2, Alabama 1, Clemson 1, Notre Dame 1. But Texas absolutely dominated their writers' thoughts of going to win the national championship. The Arch Manning side of this is absolutely fascinating for every reason that is abundantly clear and obvious. He's been there for 2 years. We've seen a little of him. What we've seen, we've liked. In a million years, if you were to tell me that the way that Texas would use Arch Manning when Quinn Ewers was healthy was as kind of like a third down battering ram, I would have said you're nuts. But that's how they used him. That's what they did with him. Is he was like a third down back. Now Ewers got hurt and he went he played okay, played great against lesser competition, okay against some better competition, but he didn't have a chance to play against Oklahoma. Quinn was back in for that game. So it's a lot on him. He's been there 2 years, his third year there. LSU getting the second most votes on this, and that's a large part because of Garrett Nussmeier, who is one of the few situations in terms of guys coming back in this. Think about it. New quarterback at Texas, same quarterback LSU, same quarterback Penn State. New quarterback Georgia, new quarterback Ohio State, new quarterback Oregon, new quarterback Alabama, same quarterback Clemson. So there's your Tigers again, Bake. And I hate to even put your Tigers on it, but Klubnik is back. So there's why you and I kind of like them in terms of long odds. And then Notre Dame, new quarterback too.
Bo, I think it's interesting on this list as well. And you mentioned Klubnik. I also throw Dabo in there as well. We know there's not a lot of head coaches in college that have won national championships before, but he is one of them. The only team on this whole list that's never won a national championship is Oregon.
Yeah. Yep. Well, they're going with it's Dante Moore, right? They're giving him the keys to the kingdom. It's
You'd think.
It looks like that.
1 year at UCLA and then a year of apprenticeship at Oregon. So they, after going to the portal for quarterbacks for back-to-back, and he's a portal guy too, but he sat for a year and he's now going into his third year on campus. In terms of their voter breakdown for the Heisman, Jeremiah Smith, just like Texas, matched him. 15 votes. Second was Arch at 7. Lenora Sellers, South Carolina, had 3. DJ Legway, Florida, 2. Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame, had 2. Klubnik had 1. Drew Aller had 1. I like the Clemson's. What's their schedule like? Do they do something crazy like play LSU in week 1? I think they might. I think they play LSU week 1. I think week 1 is Ohio State, Texas, and Clemson, LSU. Pretty sure I have that.
Yeah, so Clemson plays LSU week 1. Then it's not too bad after that. But yeah, LSU to start. Do you have it? I do.
Go ahead.
So you got LSU, Troy at Georgia Tech, Syracuse at North Carolina, at Boston College, your Ponies, Duke, Florida State, at Louisville, Furman, and then they wrap up at South Carolina.
Yeah.
I hate giving Dabo Swinney too much credit, but the way that Clemson team was able to rebound from getting their asses kicked by Georgia week 1 to make the college football playoff, like the guys returning from that team, like that's Ryan Day talked about this. You got to build up a callus. That's a hell of a way to do it, and have an idea or at least somewhat of an understanding with a college football playoff that last year you probably shouldn't have been in, but because you won the ACC, you were guaranteed a spot. Now it's the expectation. You're better suited for that.
Bo, you mentioned Klubnik, and we've talked about his year last year. I can't believe in this he's only got 1 vote for the Heisman last year. 3,639 yards, 63.5 completion percentage, 36 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. He also rushed for almost 500 yards and 7 scores. I mean, this guy, I'm going to have to check his Heisman odds, but I think I might have to throw a little on that.
Yeah, they're going to be in the mix for sure. This is interesting, too, on this. They polled their writers, which 2024 semifinalists most likely to miss the 2025 playoff. The overwhelming choice is Notre Dame, 19 votes to miss the playoff altogether. Ohio State has 7 votes, Texas 4, Penn State 1. So everybody says Penn State is going. Big Ten championship vote breakdown, Ohio State number 1 on this with 13 votes, but Penn State was second with 12. Somebody picked Michigan to win it. I don't think people realize how many folks left Michigan. Like, I know Underwood might be good at some point, but, like, you're not going to go from playing high school football in the state of Michigan to, like, leading Michigan to the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, I wonder after the NFL draft, when they see how many Michigan defenders go in the first 2 days, they go, oh, because they're not just going to be able to flip that.
I don't know if people appreciate just how much of a stud Mason Graham is.
He's top 5 pick.
Well, I got an email saying the Browns should pick him at 2, so you got that to look forward to, which is nice.
I wouldn't be mad about it.
You should be. Who will win the?
Come on, not this year.
D tackles 2 overall. Who will win the SEC championship? The overwhelming pick is Texas 19 to Georgia's 5. ACC, Clemson getting all of it, 22 votes to Miami's 7. The Big 12, it's BYU. Retzlaff is back at BYU. They're 16 votes. Arizona State is second with 5. So that's the way that it comes there. In terms of the group of 5, who will get the automatic bid, Boise State, the pick there to repeat. Navy is the number 2 choice on that. Who will win Texas at Ohio State August 30th? 21 votes for the Horns, 9 for the Buckeyes. They ask him to do some cool stuff here in terms of bold predictions, among some of them from their writers. Bruce Feldman, Florida makes the playoff. Scott Docterman, our buddy, after Notre Dame played 5 Big Ten opponents in 2024, conversations commenced between Irish leadership and Big Ten brass about a union similar to what the Irish enjoy in the ACC, perhaps in football, a 6-game annual scheduling agreement, 3 home, 3 away, with the USC series remaining intact and 1 game annually on the West Coast. I don't know why the Big Ten would ever do that. I love Scott. I just don't know why. I have no idea why the Big Ten would do that, would give them that. Like, you don't need them now. You'd like to have them, fine. But I'd go the other way and say, I've said this for years, like, none of us are playing you until you join. That would be my kind of way on this. So there you go. Look, it's fun to look at this stuff. Our buddy Pete Sampson says Texas wins the national title. Steve Sarkisian heads to the NFL and drafts Arch Manning number 1 overall. Well, there you go. That would be a hell of a thing for that to happen. Here's one involving one of our guys, Mandel. His big, bold prediction, Wisconsin fires Luke Fickell and Cincinnati fires Scott Satterfield, and Fickell goes back to Cincinnati. It's going to be a silly season. The good news for us is there's a lot of it still to get to between now and that opener between the Buckeyes and the Horns next season. We hit your emails coming up next. Bishop and Friends, right here on The Fan.
During this 10-second promo, Rothman will lose money gambling on something.
People like you come here and blow the family nest egg that built this town.
Rothman and Ice.
Weekdays from noon to 3.
The Fan.
That's are us. When dreams don't get in, that's are us.
Right now, get $1,500 off a shower or tub replacement or $3,000 off a full bathroom remodel, plus low to no monthly payments. Call 380-225-BATH to schedule your free estimate or go to bathsareus.com. 380-225-BATH.
That's are us. When dreams don't get in, that's are us.
I'm Rick Reichert. Reichert Ford just wrapped up one of our biggest sales years in our history. So we're celebrating with the January kickoff sales event. And we're dealing. Lease a new 2024 hybrid F-150 for just $599 a month for 36 months. 0 down. Or lease your 2024 Bronco Sport for just $399 a month for 36 months. Also, 0 down. One of the largest Ford inventories in America. Over 1,000 new Fords on the ground and on the way. And it's all on sale. Plus, don't miss our 0 down programs. Available now. No other dealer in Columbus, in Ohio, or the entire country is dealing like this, period. So let's make 2025 another great year. Start with Reichert Ford's January kickoff sales event at the largest volume Ford dealer in Ohio at Route 33 and Hamilton Road, 2 minutes off 270, and at ReichertFord.com. Based on 2024 Ford report for total new retail sales, Cincinnati region. Leases on approved credit. No security deposit required. Ends 2-3. Come in now.
Get the right car at Reichert.
We're dealing.
Get ready to make the big game even bigger at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino Columbus. With 2 massive jumbotrons, over 50 feet of screen, and more than 30 TVs, you won't miss a single play, touchdown, or highlight. Fuel your game with mouthwatering food and bucket specials. Plus, warm up with our pregame cornhole toss for your chance to win big before kickoff. Reserve your table now for the best seat in the house. Visit HollywoodColumbus.com for more details. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
Adam Schefter here with Vivid Seats. We've got some late-breaking news coming out of the stands. According to multiple sources, Vivid Seats fans are scoring rewards on every purchase and at a rapid pace. Obviously, these rewards are a game changer, and coupled with their MVP-worthy ticket selection, why get tickets anywhere else? Don't drop the ball this season. Shop with Vivid Seats and earn rewards on every ticket. And as the official ticketing partner of ESPN, Vivid Seats is offering you $20 off your first $200 ticket purchase with code Schefter. That's code Schefter.
A golf course quality lawn is easier and more affordable than you think with True Green. They're the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour. And right now, you can get 75% off your first service. Plus, they have a price match guarantee. You know you're getting the best value. And if you're not satisfied, True Green will revisit your lawn between scheduled visits to make it right. Don't wait. Visit TrueGreen.com today to lock in 75% off and let the pros handle your lawn while you enjoy the results.
Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. Sports Center.
Good morning. I'm Eric Reeser. The basketball Buckeyes ride their 2-game streak into Happy Valley tonight. Ohio State battles Penn State at 6:30. We'll have that game on the Fan with pregame coverage at 5:30. Ohio State's currently on the bubble. Buckeyes are 12-8 overall, 4-5 in Big Ten play. They'll play at number 18 Illinois Sunday at 1 o'clock. As for the Ohio State women's squad, the 8th-ranked Buckeyes are back at the Shot Sunday hosting Washington. OSU's in Los Angeles next week against number 1 UCLA and number 4 USC. In the NBA last night, the Cavs beat the Heat 126-106 in Miami. Cleveland's 38-9 overall. That's the best record in the association. Cavs will host the Hawks tonight at 7. In the NHL, the Blue Jackets begin a 4-game road trip tonight in Vegas. Face-off against the Golden Knights is 10 o'clock. CBJ currently have 55 points. That's tied with Tampa for the second wildcard spot in the East. Jackets are at the Utah Hockey Club tomorrow night. Breaking sports news when it happens on The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
The friends are the guests and listeners. Reeser and Baker just work here.
Back to work. Back to work. Everybody, work, 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 work.
You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, second hour here on a Thursday edition of the program. Paul Finebaum coming up in 30 minutes. Time to open up that mailbag. Hit it, fellas.
Our comment box is always open. Any feedback is mostly appreciated.
The mail never stops. It just keeps coming and coming and coming. There's never a let up. It's relentless. Every day it piles up more and more and more. And you got to get it up. And the more you get out, the more it keeps coming in. Again.
Bishop and Friends present emails.
All right, here we go. Let's start with our good buddy Greg from Botkins. The subject, let's dominate that team up north. The message, as the news continues to come out of Ann Arbor, no one seems to care except Buckeye fans that Harbaugh sold his soul to the devil to win a natty. I know, Bo, you were always saying that you enjoy number 1 versus number 2 in the game. I highly disagree. I'm ready for the 2000s when Toledo and App State win in Ann Arbor. The hatred I have towards that team up north, it is at an all-time high. Please, let's have a good 10-year run for Ryan Day to dominate that team up north. My question for you, if Ryan Day had a good 10-year run over that team up north, would there be a statue in front of the horseshoe? First of all, let me just clarify. What I've always said about the Ohio State-Michigan game is I like when they're both undefeated and Ohio State wins. That's what I like. That's perfect. I want them both to be great, but I want Ohio State to win every single time. That is taking something from them. There were some unfulfilling Ohio State-Michigan games in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Certainly, I don't sign up for 4 straight losses. I don't want any part of that. But what I do want is that rivalry to be the best in sport, and for that to happen, both schools have to be good. To answer a second question about will there be a statue in front of the horseshoe, if there's not a statue of Woody, there's not a statue of anybody. I mean, I think that's just kind of it. Like, Woody's in front of the Woody, but no, I don't think there's anything that would allow for that. I also don't think Ryan's going to be here another 10 years.
I think the one statue they have outside the shoe is the only statue that can really go outside the cathedral of the sport. Everything else, you can put a, maybe if there's another national championship one under his watch, you put one somewhere else on campus. But Archie in front of the shoe, Woody in front of the center that bears his name is really kind of it here.
It's hard to do because when you think about retiring numbers and all of that stuff, like the idea that Heisman winners are the only numbers they retire. And some folks say, well, gosh, you probably should retire Orlando Pace. And there's a lot, you go, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That maybe should have, that they only do the Heismans. You got a lot of history here, man.
Yeah. What else does Ryan do in that 10-year run? You know, if he wins 3 or 4 national championships as well, maybe you could talk about it. But if there's no other national championship, you don't have a statue for Herb. You don't have a statue for Tress, so you can't give one today.
I think it's like if there's like a Saban run, which I don't think there will ever be that again, ever. Like 6 national titles or whatever the heck he won. This one from James. The subject is that Team Up North punishment. I'm an avid OSU fan, and to me, the punishment has already happened and will continue forever. This championship will always have a stench to it. Harbaugh will always have a stench to him. I think that's a good way of looking at it. My hunch is that the folks who root for that team up north don't feel that way. I think one of the real shames in all of this, we talked about this yesterday, is how some folks just aren't covering this at all. It's just really not being talked about. I think there's a genuine level of fatigue around it. And yeah, I don't know if your pound of flesh was the Michigan game in 2023. That was the one where you could have got it and said, look, no spying. Now look what happens. Unfortunately, that Buckeye team went up against a legitimate, really all-time Michigan team. I mean, that you have to acknowledge that part of it. That J.J. McCarthy-led Michigan team was legit across the board. They just were. And we trotted out there a team that was a year before. So just wasn't that. The CJ's last year is the one that really stinks. That's the one that's salty. Last year's was probably the better team won. I think we can all objectively say that.
I don't know about Michigan fans, but there are some Michigan people that you have heard that have come out and said this has left a scar on our school, this championship and these Big Ten championships will always be questioned. I just wonder, outside of Ohio State fans, in our realm of this, how many people do think that there's a stench on that title?
None. I think it's forgotten. I think it's like Kansas basketball. Kansas basketball is dead to rights. They won a national. Who brings it up now?
True.
Nobody does. This from Eric. The subject, 2025 season message to Team Fans Nation. In current slang, Ohio is used to describe something as strange, weird, cringy, or just plain dumb, essentially meaning something is not cool or considered bad in a casual sense. I'm unaware of that, and I have a teenager, so I didn't know that. It's primarily used by younger generations, has no direct connection to the actual state of Ohio itself. Having lived in Ohio my entire life and loving every minute of it, how could we not be offended by this? Are you offended by it? At least when you think about it. Imagine being Ryan Day, who was not born here, was transplanted here, not feeling welcome the past 4 years in this place you love and call home. I've been thinking for the past couple of days that Ryan needs to rebrand Ohio Pride, including for people who have moved here from outside the state. It fits or piggybacks with the message Ohio against the world as well. Ohio against the world, but now for the world, also fits with the message of faith the team carried in 2025. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. Thanks for reading. Favorite show on the fan. Well, I appreciate that, Eric. I was unaware of that as slang, that Ohio was a negative thing as slang.
So you say something's Ohio? Oh, man, that pizza was really Ohio. Like, that's how that works?
There's a lot of that. Cleveland gets a lot of that. There's a lot of that there. I didn't know that there was an Ohio slang. That
like his gang's real Ohio tonight.
Didn't have it.
That's new to me.
Yeah. I'll ask NBC. If anyone will have the pulse of it, it would be him. This one from Brian. The subject is golf cart. Reports are she hit the wall so hard it snapped the front axle. That's why it wouldn't back up and probably why she skipped town. Has anyone tracked her down? Like any of the blogs, like Barstool or Outkick or any of them, have they tracked down?
Not that I've seen.
What happened to her?
Not that I've seen, no. And that's not reports. You see it in the video.
I didn't know that
wheel
it broke an axle.
Yeah, the wheel actually breaks. You can see it.
You gotta hit pretty hard.
The wheel over by Ryan actually, because she's turning to the left, the wheel over on Ryan's side on the front actually is to the right. It looks like a dislocated ankle.
You got to hit a wall pretty hard, brother.
Real hard.
To do that. To not get a little bit of bounce back, a little bit of forgiveness. This one from Mark. The subject is Browns draft. None of the top 2 quarterbacks are lifting the Browns. The Browns have too many needs. Give the rest of the league perception you are getting a QB to deal down. Get Mason Graham, best player available. Look at what Philly has done. They get best players, usually on defense, and have an identity, regardless of who coaches. I get a quarterback room of established free agents on cheap, Cousins or Flacco, and QB in the second or third. If you go look at the top 13 offenses in the NFL this year, every single one of them, except for one, was quarterbacked by a first-round pick. And most of them were quarterbacked by top 10 picks, and even more so were quarterbacked by top 2 picks. There is a direct correlation. If you want to play good in the NFL, you have got to have a first-round quarterback. And the notion that Mason Graham may be a fine player, you cannot take a defensive tackle number 2 in this draft. You can't. They're what they will do if they don't pick at 2, if they don't pick a quarterback at 2, they will trade back and they will trade for, and they will attempt to get weapons. You have to have weapons. If you cannot score the football, you can talk about Philly all you want, and yes, they can do that, but Philly also has Jalen Hurts, who they stumbled into as a second-round pick. Him and Brock Purdy are the outliers. Everybody else, they're dudes. Mahomes was picked 10th, right? Josh Allen was picked what?
I think he was 7th.
7th for Allen. Herbert was 7th, right? Jaden Daniels was 2. You got to have a dude.
CJ, number 2.
Yeah.
I do think there is, and I don't. This isn't a thought. This is I know this, that there are so many Browns fans out there that just have no faith in the organization to do the right thing with a quarterback or to be able to. It's you're getting quarterback. If you draft a quarterback, it's quarterback 41 or quarterback 42, and so I think that's tough for Browns fans to get over.
I get it.
The idea is, if you want to win in this league, you need one, and you get one because you draft one high.
This isn't the 2000s where you draft Sam Bradford and it's a financial death knell for the next 6 years. I mean, you can draft. Look at the Jets. They drafted Darnold 2. They drafted Wilson 2, and it didn't work. So you're on to the next. You have to find that position. You got to land that quarterback. I hope they pick a quarterback at 2, and I hope they pick a quarterback in the 3rd round. I hope they bring in a veteran, Danny Dimes, Justin Fields, something like that, and they say best man win. And don't view it like we have to make the first-round pick work. Best quarterback win. If the first-round quarterback isn't it, on to the next. On to the next.
And do that every year until you hit.
Until you get it. That's where I'm at. This one from Nick. The subject is Hawaii. Love the show, brother. Hey, taking the family to Hawaii in March. I remember you recently talked about being there and had some recommendations, food, drinks, beer. Look, all the food is good. All of the beer is good. All the drinks are good. You're in Hawaii. Nothing tastes bad. What I would say is, what we did is we went to Oahu. So we flew into Honolulu. We stayed at the Disney thing there for a couple of days for Bootsy. One of the coolest things we did there is we went to, I forget the name of it. Is it Koloa Ranch? It's the place where they filmed the Jurassic Park movies. That was really cool. And they filmed Lost there. So that was really cool to see that and to go on those tours. Pearl Harbor is incredibly sobering to see that because you've known so much. So that's great. And then we did, I think, 5 or 6 nights in Maui. And that's probably as close to heaven on earth as you're going to find in my travels, I would say that. So those are the 2 islands we did. Again, I didn't have a bad food. I didn't have a bad meal. I didn't have a bad beer because you just look around and you go, well, this is pretty good, no matter how it shakes out. All right, last one. This one is from Jay. The subject is Ferris Bueller. He writes, I was listening to your story about your son. This was Bootsy a week ago, setting up his early escape from school. It reminded me of a story with my son from a few years ago. I have a similar parenting style, it seems, and always suspect shenanigans when one of my kids is sick. He was in 7th grade and on the track team, and after a few practices, he said his legs hurt and he was tired and needed a break. Me being me, I said, you need the conditioning and getting used to the running and physical conditioning again. Off to practice he goes, and I think all is well. Before the next practice, he goes to mom, and same story. Legs are sore, he's tired. I think he's got her. She doesn't make him go, and I said, he got you. How can you be such a sucker? Which is similar to what I said to the blonde last week. He continues with his next day, and I say, well, get him checked out at the doctor if it's that bad, thinking shenanigans the whole time. Well, I ate crow that day. He ended up having mono and was legitimately not well. Needless to say, he got a few new video games to play as he worked back to full health. You win some, you lose some. Enjoy your work on both shows and hope this brought you a laugh. It did, Jay, and also comes full circle because I got out of the worst job I've ever had in my life because of mono. So there you go. Full circle. Bill Belichick's going to attempt to win in college football. The path to do so will be a fascinating one and an interesting watch. You'll hear from him on how it's going so far coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
We have so many local shows, I can't fit them in a 10-second promo. So let's just say we're live and local all damn day. The Fan.
Hey, it's Bobby Carpenter. And everybody's had these pains, these little nicks, these things that you maybe had an injury when you were younger and you thought it went away. And then all of a sudden as you get old, it starts to creep back. Doing everything, walking up the stairs, doing your favorite activities, golf, skiing, whatever it might be, the summer, the spring, the winter, it hurts. Hey, do not deal with it any longer. The hip, the knee, the shoulder, the back, whatever it is, there's good news. Go to QC Kinetics. They're groundbreaking treatments for that arthritis pain. They're going to make you feel better. The long-term relief, it's now possible. They're right here in Columbus under the leadership of Dr. Ray Tesner, founder of Grant Sport Medicine and a classically trained orthopedic surgeon. Don't wait. Make the call today. My dad and I did. His knee's starting to feel better. My knee feels better. They've got PRP treatments. They can change your life. I'm telling you right now. So go to qckinetics.com/Columbus for your free consultation or give them a call at 380-208-4544. It's not going to go away on its own. They've got 2 offices in Dublin and Gahanna, so check them out.
Giant Eagle is making it easy to surround yourself with savings with new low prices on hundreds of your favorite produce items like pineapples, avocados, navel oranges, and lettuce at your neighborhood Giant Eagle.
Hey, Columbus, Brandon Beam here. I'm going to be at the new AT&T store at 1605 Georgesville Square Drive this Saturday from noon to 2 p.m. Bring your friends, bring your family, and let's have some fun. Again, at 1605 Georgesville Square Drive. See you out there.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing? I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online. I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy? Yes, Zelfie can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door. How do I get started with Zelfie? Just send them a text.
Text CORE to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic, but for 80 to 90% less and 100% online. Don't wait. Text CORE to 200-300 right now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text CORE to 200-300. That's CORE to 200-300. CORE to 200-300.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Well, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Common Man and T-Bone are known for many things. And while great radio ain't one of them, shoving food down their gullets is their specialty. Join Man and Bone for Fat Boy Food Tip.
Live at 3 or on the podcast.
Your home for fat. The Fan.
Have you ever thought about having a podiatric physician examine your feet? Doctors of Podiatric Medicine set broken bones, perform wound care, and remove bunions. Common health issues that they treat include ingrown or fungal nails, corns, warts, and skin problems like athlete's foot. Foot exams are easy and can prevent many foot problems. If you can't walk, work, or enjoy sports activities without pain, what are you waiting for? To find a podiatric physician who is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
And now, Public Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Tomorrow.
Ohio's colleges and universities are welcoming spaces where people of all backgrounds and beliefs come together to share ideas and become stronger critical thinkers. We should celebrate the innovative work of our higher education faculty and their dedication to using their collective voices to create the best learning conditions possible.
Public Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Looking at a dry day today during the daylight hours, but rain is on the way as we head into the evening. Today we're looking at a high of 48. Rain starts after sunset tonight. Tonight's low will be around 40. Showers on your Friday with a high of 58. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 TV weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
If the sound of another man slammed against plexiglass turns you on, you've come to the right place. Proud to be your home for Jackets hockey. The Fan, Ohio sports destination. The final season of Yellowstone might just be Bo's dad live on YouTube. What's the difference anyway? This is Bishop and Friends.
And of course, we are sponsored by our great friends at Diamond Cellar, your true jeweler for over 75 years. A couple of their email notes here. Shannon, I did get your email about the High Bank bourbon. I will work on that for you. I know that stuff went very quick. Bank, you got a couple last week, I think, right?
I sure did. Went right after the show.
Yeah. So I know that those went quick, and she was on the High Bank tour a couple years ago, and was hoping to get some first. So we'll work on that. See if we can track some of that down on that side of things. So thank you for the email, and thank you for listening. Much appreciated. All right. Bill Belichick is the head coach at North Carolina. Yeah, that's still a thing. In between, he still does all sorts of things. For example, going on the Let's Go podcast with Jim Gray, which is the one that Tom Brady does. He was also been on McAfee. That's something that he was paid to do for much of the season, all the while trying to cobble together a team and put together a roster that can be competitive at North Carolina in this modern era of college football. One of the things that's come out about him and his choosing to go to the college route versus the NFL is, quite honestly, the NFL didn't have a whole lot of interest. And according to a lot of the reporting that's out there, he burned a lot of bridges in the league during his time in New England. And so there isn't a great deal of interest to him. To me, it's absolutely wild that he's not the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I think it's wild he's not the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's wild to me that one of these places that seems ready to go would not have scratched the itch and called him and see if he could come in with a ready-made roster. His only real flaw was the draft, and specifically drafting skill position players. He struggled there, but everything else, it kind of checked out all the way through. Needless to say, that opportunity did not come, and so he finally did sign that contract at North Carolina. Let's start with his comments on McAfee. He weighed in about what he's learned about college and spending time at different schools. Here's Belichick on that.
I learned a lot this year, watching a lot of teams, talking to people. But certainly a great experience, and I'm very appreciative of Coach Fish for giving me the opportunity to come out to Washington and spend a little time out there with him and watch his program. But that really showed me how exciting and interesting college football is. You have a lot more time to spend with the players. They develop. You see them just develop more, and they're very eager to learn and try to become NFL players. So. That was a great experience for me. And then, I was able to visit some other schools as well. Coach Kelly at LSU was, very hospitable as well. And, got to, Rutgers and Coach Shiano. So, I learned a lot from, looking at some of these other programs. I didn't know where it was going to end up, but it was certainly interesting and educational at the time. I mean, Pat, you're always learning, no matter how much we do and how much we think we might know or have experience with. Football is always changing all the time. New players, new rules, new things are happening, and the learning part of it's actually a lot of fun.
He was also asked about being at North Carolina. Here's Belichick on being pleased to be there.
Yeah, I mean, look, Pat, it's great to be part of a team. To work collectively with other coaches, staff members, Mike Lombardi, and the players towards a common goal is really what it's all about. And it's fun to be part of a team. Being on my own was, great for a year, but I'm really happy to be part of the Carolina team.
One of you guys asked yesterday, or maybe it was off air, asked it was in regard to Pete Carroll. What's he doing? He's 72 years old. Why does he want to go coach the Las Vegas Raiders? The juice is worth the squeeze. The action is the juice from Heat, right? I mean, that's why. There's a habitual thing and a natural adrenaline that comes with putting something like this together. And anytime people say something to the effect of like, man, if I had all that success, all that money, I would just chill. Yeah, you can for a while, but then eventually just chilling gets bored. There's only so much golf you can play. There's only so many deep sea fishing trips you can take. There's only so many places on the globe you can visit. Once you check all of those things off that you've always wanted to do and that you now have the freedom and the financial ability to check off, once that's done, what's your why? Why are you getting up every day? What's keeping you young? Bobby Bowden used to say all the time when I covered him 25 years ago, he always used to say, you remember him saying this all the time, the only thing to look forward to after retirement is death. That's the last that's kind of the last benchmark is retirement, death. And he had that because he was a Bear Bryant disciple, and Bear died within, I want to say, 6 months of coaching his last game at Alabama. And so it's in these guys' head, that part of it too, but it's what inspires you, what makes you get up in the morning, those type of things. So I get why he's doing it. I just am shocked that the NFL somebody didn't come calling for him to fix a situation that just needed a little bit of guidance. Because I think one of the things that everybody missed, a lot of the folks who just primarily cover the NFL, one of the things they really missed in all of this with him going to Carolina was this notion that what him and Mike Lombardi and those guys were doing down there was somehow revolutionary. That nobody had thought about running a college football program like an NFL team. They've been doing that for 20 years. Truly, 20 years.
I wondered when he'd said that he's just been so head in the sand or just he had NFL blinders on for so long that outside of the draft cycle, are you paying any at all attention to what's going on in college football? Because when he said that, he did sound very proud of himself. Yep. It might have been McAfee's where he said it up, McAfee's show where he said that we're going to build a program that's a pipeline to the NFL. And it's like, well, I give you 6 or 7 other examples or 6 or 7 examples of college programs that already do that. There's one here in Columbus, but just because he's on to Cincinnati every single week in the National Football League, there's no paying attention to what's going on with the college and how a college program is made until you actually start thinking about making said college program. And we had 6 or 7 vacancies in the NFL this offseason, and I know 2, one that's looking like it's about to close, or not the New Orleans Saints one, but the Jaguars and the Cowboys. It felt like you weren't going to be shopping for your own produce because the Cowboys are always going to be owned, going to be controlled by Jera. Yeah. And it felt like it took it took a little too long for the Jaguars to move off Trent Baalke.
Probably true. That's the one to me. Those two. Those are the 2 in this hiring cycle that you looked at and said, okay.
That'd be the fit.
Those are the fit. And I think you're actually being kind with saying there's 6 teams in college football that run it that way, Reese. I think there's probably 6 teams in the ACC that run it that way. I think there's probably 50 teams in college football that have we are preparing you to play in the NFL model. Maybe more. I think everyone aspires to that. There's not a facility you walk in this country of a major program that does not have NFL players from their university plastered all over the walls. That's the sales pitch for all of them. Ohio State did it better than anybody with Urban and Mark Pantoni when they basically created NFLU. But that blueprint is everywhere. I mean, think about how brilliant this is. Remember Urban used to say this? Like, one of the things they did in recruiting, this was when he was here with Mark, one of the things that they hammered was like, look, these are the amount of NFL teams that play in the cold. Come to Ohio State, South Florida kid. We're going to teach you how to play in the cold. Truly. That was a recruiting pitch. Like, they've been doing this for a long time. You guys remember that Nike ad where there was the Buckeyes playing in the snow in the Nike ad? When Nike was like, their whole ad campaign was running in winter. That was the whole thing, like winterized running shoes. That was the whole thing. Well, it's not a coincidence that Urban was in that, and it was the Buckeyes in that playing in the snow. Why? Because you come here, we're going to teach you how to play in the snow. It's a sales pitch.
Is that the one where they, at the end, they like panned out and it was like the shoe and the field was snowy and they had the swoosh in the snow?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So this has been going on forever. I don't see them, from what I've seen a month in, unless, and I don't know what type of cupboard Mac Brown left for him at North Carolina. Don't know. But I don't see them portaling like crazy. I don't see them recruiting like crazy. And why would they? It's a tougher sell at a place like that. And I think unless he gets, the current most famous alumni to, in terms of Michael Jordan to say, like, look, I want to be great at football. Here's $200 million that you can spend on NIL over it. But Jordan's one of the notoriously cheapest guys ever. He doesn't give anything away. Nothing. So they need some people to come in and say football matters here. And the problem is their basketball team's going to miss the NCAA tournament. And that's what really matters. I'm not optimistic this goes well.
Did see last week that they had Jared Curtis, the number one quarterback in the 2026 class, in for a recruiting visit. And I think
you know who he was with this week?
Who's that, Curtis?
Yeah. Did you see who he was with this week?
I did not.
Chip.
Oh, nice.
Never stops, baby. Never stops. We'll talk to Paul Finebaum about this, among other things, in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Men, the new year is here. And if you're like many of us, you're going to make a resolution to improve your health. But if you're feeling sluggish and low energy, if your sleep patterns are off, if you've been working out and aren't seeing the gains you used to see, making that resolution may not be so easy. This is Jeff for Tri-State Men's Health. And if you're feeling the way I just described, we can likely help you with that resolution, because those symptoms probably mean you're suffering with low testosterone. And at Tri-State Men's Health, we're experts in treating this condition. With our low T protocols, if you're like most men, the change will astound you. You'll feel more energy and better mental clarity, your sleep will improve, your workouts will be better, and you'll likely find your sex drive goes up as well. So call us today and get treated for your low T. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. And if you start on testosterone the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 800-900-9654 or go to tristatemenshealth.com. That's tristatemenshealth.com. Tri-State Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice.
At Meyer, we work hard to bring more of the good life to your life so you can bring home more perfectly plump and flavorful produce picked for precise freshness, beautifully marbled, beyond brag-worthy certified Angus beef, and more must-have money-saving M-Perks rewards. Because saving more on local favorites is good, but bringing home more of what you love in every trip, that's the good life. We do more to make life a good deal better at Meyer.
Get your seat in the shot to watch Ohio State men's ice hockey this Thursday, January 30th and Friday, January 31st. Join the Buckeyes as they take on Michigan State. There are only a few more home series left, so don't miss the chance to see the Buckeyes at home. Buy your tickets at ohiostatebuckeyes.com.
Getting the cold shoulder? Call Care Heating and Cooling and we'll fix your furnace fast. Call 1-800-COOLING.
The Fan Guest Hotline is sponsored by Weston Air Heating and Cooling and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep you and your home comfortable. The Fan. Bishop and Friends present college football's most polarizing figure.
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Come on back to our show, Tim. The audience hates you.
This is ESPN's Paul Finebaum.
And he joins on the Bryant Heating Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. We run that open every week, Paul, and the first lady who yells, Paul Finebaum, listen to me. Do you know what that's in reference to?
No, I do know that is Tammy, who was one of our most famous callers and who unfortunately died a couple of years ago. But that would Bo, that would be what she said there could be applicable to almost anything we ever talked about, because she didn't agree with me on anything. But she was, I would say, maybe the funniest caller we ever had.
Yes, absolutely. And may she rest in peace. Absolutely. Classic on many of her calls. I was looking, this is silly season, right? We're looking way too quickly and early to next year, but by God, we love the sport and we love talking about it. I was looking at some of the odds for next season on ESPN Bet in terms of national championship futures, all of that. Paul, I kind of, at the start of this year, we said, look, it's Ohio State, it's Oregon, it's Texas, it's Georgia. Talent-wise, they kind of separate. Next year, there could be like a dozen teams that are kind of all in the same boat. And some of that is just there just aren't quarterbacks coming back in a lot of these places. as you start to look ahead, does that hit home for you as well, that we could be headed for kind of a wide open season in 2025?
Yeah, when we're talking about Garrett Nussmeier from LSU as one of the favorites for a Heisman, and he really wasn't that good last year, Bo. I mean, LSU lost 4 games, and Brian Kelly went from hero to hot seat. You start talking about Drew Aller, and listen, I mean, I've watched this guy not as much as you have, but I'm not that enamored by him or his group around him. So I think the playoff is the equalizer. Now last year, if you had given me Georgia and Ohio State versus the field, I would have taken it probably, and obviously lived to tell about it. But I think there's a lot of elements, and I still think there's a few question marks. And I think probably the biggest in the country is Arch Manning. He'll get the most attention. We think he's going to be great, but how do we really know?
That's where I'm headed next with you, because I'm looking at a lot of this stuff, and they have Texas, Ohio State open the season against each other next year here in town. Ohio State's talent is well known. Julian Sayin, who folks in your neck of the woods knew for a brief minute with his stop in Tuscaloosa for a couple of weeks. But it'll be those two guys likely going head to head in that one. You've been certainly the Manning family, and you know that family well, and everything that kind of comes with it. We've never seen anything like this. A kid sit for 2 years, be patient, and wait his turn. And then if you would have told me that the way Texas would use him when Quinn Ewers wasn't hurt was kind of as like a third down back, I would have said you're nuts. I mean, you would have thought he was like prototypical passer. When you talk to people who have seen him play a lot, or folks around the Texas program, what is he?
I think what he is somebody who we expect being the operative word, to be very poised. A couple weeks ago when we were in New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl, we did 2 days at Manning's restaurant, and easily the highlight of that trip was about a 25, 30-minute conversation I had on one of those days with Archie Manning, the grandfather. And when you're around that family, and I know Archie best, I do know Peyton a little bit, and Eli sparingly. I don't know Cooper, the father of Arch. They're different. You've been around these type of legacy families, although I don't know if there is quite a family like this, and it's ingrained upon them at the earliest age. They are not one to worry about money and things that most of us gravitate towards. So I think that is in his favor. But still, I don't know if you could dial up a worse place to open your career as a starter than in Columbus against the defending national champion. Now, on the other side of that, I do want to say something about Julian Sayin. He didn't get much attention a year ago when he left Alabama because it was all about Caleb Downs. Mm-hmm. But I always thought that was the one that hurt Alabama the most because, I mean, Nick Saban spent a lot of time recruiting him. It was a big deal. I mean, there was a lot of talk coming from a similar area that Bryce Young and you know more about what Julian Sayin's up to these days than I do. But that was a devastating blow to Alabama that was somewhat pushed under the rug because he was only a backup at the time. A backup. I mean, he was I don't know if he had a high school degree yet.
No, he was there for hardly any amount of time. I tell you what, if the Alabama fans saw him in spring football the way that we saw him in spring football, I think that one would have hit a little bit harder because he is quick twitch. The arm talent is exemplary. So there's a lot of momentum towards him, obviously, and that one next year. When you take a look around the country, and you mentioned a couple of the ones, and I'm with you in terms of skeptical of LSU and Penn State, absolutely. Is there a team that we're not talking about enough, and I acknowledge that we're 8 months out, that you kind of like the mojo they have heading into this offseason?
Well, I think we get hung up on the obvious ones. To me, I'm intrigued by Michigan. I think they're a little bit of a mystery based on some of the sloppiness that I saw this year. Even within the SEC, which I'm most familiar with, I don't really know. I can't tell you. I mean, Alabama to me is mysterious. LSU is really good. But I'm about to land on the team that I really don't want to land on, but they have one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the country, and that's Clemson. They are back in many respects, according to the people that know the program. And I have a friend whose son is one of their coaches, so I hear a little bit more. I think that they have an intriguing opening game against LSU, and if they win that, I think they're in really good shape. I think Miami is another one that they're always hard to trust, but I do believe Carson Beck is going to have a huge season. I mean, he was really hurt last year because he was so used to throwing to NFL receivers, and he just didn't have anybody on his team that could catch.
Is your thinking, and the folks around Georgia familiar with it? Is the feeling that he will be ready to start the season? And was it a situation where Kirby and Georgia were just like good riddance, or was there any push to bring him back?
There was a push to bring him back, but his girlfriend is on the volleyball team at Miami. Carson Beck is a really strange guy. Okay, I mean that Georgia team was inspired after he went out in the SEC championship game, and they love Gunnar Stockton because he's a good old boy who drives a truck and spits tobacco, while Carson is kind of in the ionosphere. But I think Miami is the perfect place for him. It's a little more laid back. Mario Cristobal is a coach who understands that. And Cristobal told me not that long ago, he is really confident. This is his year. Now, again, for 20 years, I've heard that about Miami.
Yeah, well, if anything, even at the quarterback position, they did it with Cam Ward, and so there's a little bit of a roadmap there where they took a guy who was undraftable, and now he's going to go probably in the top 2 or 3 in the NFL draft. I did see a story. You mentioned Clemson, ESPN choosing to opt into that deal through 2036, that TV contract that we've talked about so much through the years. And one of the parameters of it will be compensating FSU and Clemson a little bit more. I'm trying to think about this from the Florida State perspective, and they were so loud in the last year about how we're getting out, we're going to do all of these things, we're going to do private equity and all of that. They went from undefeated to off the map, and I don't know what they are now going forward. Like, if you are the ACC, are you sure Florida State deserves more than everybody else?
No, you don't. But you also know that when they're good, they are one of the few brand names. I think and that was expected. I mean, ESPN was not going to let that go, especially with all the lawsuits flying and all the things that you've heard about. I think the school that is most interesting in the ACC is North Carolina, and it really not because of Belichick. I'm not convinced. I mean, he doesn't have to improve that product much for them to be a contender, but they are the brand that the SEC and I think even the Big Ten probably wants the most. And I think if we ever get to that point, and I don't see it happening right now, there's just too much. There's too much digesting going on in the Big Ten and the SEC to open the doors again. But I think North Carolina is the school that I would keep my eyes on the most close.
Do you get a sense of how it's going for Bill there? Recruiting portal, all of it?
There's a little bit of an awareness. You may have seen this picture the other day. He went into the home of the number 1 quarterback in the country in Nashville, and the kid posted a picture on X. And this is not just because you have me on the air here, Bo, but behind him there was a big screen TV of the Finebaum show in the afternoon.
I did see that.
It was a picture of me interviewing somebody, and I'm thinking, I mean, can you imagine Kirby Smart not being or Ryan Day walking in a home and not making sure what was on the TV before I stood in it to grab a picture?
No, I can't. I cannot. I did see, by the way.
I mean, you're trying to get the guys in the ACC, and the SEC network is on in his house.
I did see, ironically enough, Chip Kelly took a picture with that same quarterback this week, and there was no image of you in the background. So they did the fact checking on that side of it, my friend.
By the way, that kid originally committed to Georgia, but I don't know. I don't know if he's any good or not, but he's got great taste in afternoon programming.
He very much does. Appreciate your time in the conversation as always, buddy. Thanks for it.
Thanks, Bo. See you soon.
All right, there he is, Paul Finebaum, the Paul Finebaum Show on ESPN and the SEC Network, joining on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. We had a little thing or not a thing up next. Bishop and Friends, right here on the Fan.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
The Ohio State Coaches Daily Show is brought to you locally on the Fan by Credit Union of Ohio.
This is the Daily Show with Coach Jake Diepler, brought to you by Encova Insurance. We've seen lately the way Sean Stewart has played on defense and his anticipation of passes. Is that a skill that you've kind of seen him have all along?
Yeah, I feel like Sean has really good defensive instincts, and we want to give him some freedom to utilize that. He's done it jumping into passing lanes and getting some steals. He's also done it protecting the rim or making up for some mistakes for us. So when he's playing hard, which he really always is, and he's able to just operate off instinct, I think it's been really good for us.
We'll have another comment in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Archie Griffin, two-time Heisman Trophy winner. The right coverage can be a game changer, both on and off the field. That's why Encova Insurance and their local independent agents are prepared for what's next and protect what matters most to you. Whether that's your home, car, business, or family, Encova's got your back with a policy that fits you perfectly. With local independent agents in your neighborhood and innovative insurance products that can be tailored to fit your unique needs, Encova's playbook is an easy win for your peace of mind. You can trust their team of agents to develop a strategy that's just right for you. And it's not just X's and O's. Your expert agent will guide you and provide insurance solutions so you can confidently manage your risk and count on a financially secure future. For auto, home, and business insurance, you want Encova on your team. Visit Encova.com today to find an agent near you. Encova is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks!
Now, the officials have been talking for quite some time.
All righty, let's see what they have to say.
Upon further review, there is no penalty on the play. However, we have conferred and discovered that Bob, the line judge, has saved a boatload for his kids' college using Ohio's 529 plan. It is tax-free, accepted nationwide. Bob recommends we all go to collegeadvantage.com. First down.
Well, that's not entirely unexpected.
Classic Bob.
At Ohio State, we are the never afraid to innovate teams and the improve people's lives teams. Together, we are the Ohio State University. This is the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State Athletics.
Jake, can ask you about Sean Stewart, but also does it apply to Aaron Bradshaw? Something you've talked about. The two young men didn't play a lot last year where they were. Are they finally now kind of starting to get their tread where it needs to be?
Yeah, both those guys are benefiting from the experience they've gotten and opportunity at more minutes than they had last year. Obviously, Aaron missed a chunk of the season that I think impacted kind of his growth, but Sean's consistency, we're seeing the benefits of that, and I've just been really impressed with both those guys lately.
This is the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, basketball fans, Credit Union of Ohio wants to help you score more by making life more affordable. It's time to play with a team that helps you win every day. Credit Union of Ohio's loan rates have dropped to provide affordable financing for the things you want and need. It's time to reevaluate your current loans and consider refinancing with a team that cares about you. Check out current specials and get started scoring more money at cuofohio.org. That's cuofohio.org. NCUA insured, equal housing lender.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint. With their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind or grab a carryout. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizza, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
They're trained. They're fired up.
Let's do it.
When you need heat, they can't be beat. They're Ohio State's undefeated heating and cooling team. For plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling, there's only one team. The Waterworks. Better care, better value, better results. Call the Waterworks at 614-232-2222 or visit them online at thewaterworks.com. A proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Hey there, friends. Bo Bishop here. The best time of the year for football is finally here. The big game has arrived, and fans are excited to see you'll be hoisting the trophy in New Orleans. You can get in on all the action at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Check out their big game giveaway promo for your chance at $1 million in prizes. 25 winners will walk away with $10K in cash. 7,500 winners will get $100 in bonus bets. No deposit or bet required. Opt in today in the ESPN Bet Sportsbook app. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Distilled sports discussion served in light beer quantities. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, time for a little thing or not a thing. Hit it, fellas.
Thing or not a thing.
Sponsored by Apex Plumbing Pros.
Jackets are on a 4-game road trip. They're going to be in Vegas tonight, Utah tomorrow night. The Utah Hockey Club was only supposed to be a 1-year thing, and it looks like it was supposed to be the Utah Yeti. The actual Yeti, the cooler company, didn't want that to be the case. So the Utah Hockey Club's chosen 3 finalists for the permanent team name that it will adopt beginning with the 25-26 season. Franchise will use a final round of fan voting to decide among the Utah Mammoth, Utah Hockey Club, and Utah Wasatch. Team officials backed away from including Yeti as a finalist after being unable to work out a coexistence agreement with Yeti Coolers to use the name in branding and merchandising. In a statement, a team spokesperson said they have a unique trademark that allows them to prevent the use of the word Yeti or Yetis. They made a determination for the sake of their brand. They didn't want to enter into a coexistence with us. Thing or not a thing?
Sucky thing, because that's the best name. It just is. It's a really cool name. It would have looked really cool on a sweater. The merch would have been absolutely ready to go from Jump Street. So it stinks that they can't do that. It's a good job out of the Cooler Company that they had such an incredible trademark that allowed them to prevent the use of that word, which has been around obviously for a long time, really anywhere commercially without their permission. So great job out of them. In terms of what's left, Wasatch is the name of the range, the mountain range that Salt Lake City is in. Mammoth, Utah Mammoth doesn't sound all that cool, especially juxtaposed to Yeti, but I think you could do a cool sweater with that, and we don't have the woolly mammoth anywhere, so I think that could be kind of cool. My hunch is they just go Hockey Club, and maybe they use an image of a Yeti or something like that as in part of their logo. But I wonder if they'll go Hockey Club on this. A lot of people around Washington felt like they should, instead of going commies, they should have just went Washington Football Club, Washington Football Team. Mammoth of these 3 would probably be my pick, though, but my guess is they'll go Hockey Club.
So I was reading up a little bit on this last night, and if they did the Mammoth, you know that the video boards in the third period would be Let's Get Mammoth and all of that stuff. The Wasatch kind of sounds like that's kind of like a word out there for a Yeti, like for a monster that would be going through the mountain range or something. So it sounded like if they did Wasatch, a Yeti would be incorporated a lot in the uniform and everything. And it kind of sounds like that's what the people out there are leaning to. It'll be interesting to see what this fan vote comes up with. But this is a bummer, man. I think everybody loses in this. This could have been a great business opportunity for the NHL and the Yeti Cooler Company.
My guess is
that's the name of the range is the Wasatch Range. I know that. So you're telling me there's also like an animal that they claim is in there?
Yeah, I think it's just what they call that's just for that mountain range. They call that Yeti out there a Wasatch.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe there's your chance then.
Yeah, I wonder if Yeti, the Cooler Company's, thinking to themselves, we do not need any help marketing our products.
Probably not.
On Wednesday, Nebraska's 4-time national champion women's volleyball coach John Cook announced his retirement, which came as a shock to everyone. The 68-year-old Cook spent 32 years as a collegiate head coach. He was at Wisconsin for 7 and then 25 at Nebraska. He took over in Lincoln in 2000. Cook guided the Huskers to 4 national championships, 12 NCAA semifinals appearances, 9 Big 12 titles, and 5 Big 10 titles. His career record is 883 and 176. That's the 5th best winning percentage all time for a D1 volleyball coach. Thing or not a thing?
I would say not a thing because I don't know who this guy is. I was unaware of it. I knew that Nebraska is very good at volleyball, and I remember Threes saying that when he would go there to do Nebraska football games, you would go to get something to eat on a Friday, and everyone would be watching the volleyball games. Is he leaving right now?
Effective immediately.
Effective immediately. So that's it. Yeah. That part's interesting. My guess it's like all these guys. I'm guessing he's dealing with NIL and free transfer too. everybody wants their cut.
Didn't the Nebraska women's volleyball team a couple of years ago have like an outdoor match inside the football stadium, if I remember correctly, because
they did.
Yeah, they sold out Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, because their volleyball team is so big and followed. This kind of reminds me of a couple of years ago when Ohio State's men's volleyball coach, Pete Hansen, retired after 38 years and a great track record. Unfortunately, I don't think volleyball really moves the needle, so this is not much of a thing. But, Bo, I don't know how many coaches we're going to have anymore lasting this long in college sports.
It's done.
Former Alabama and New England Patriots running back Damian Harris was on CBS Sports Network and shared a pretty funny story about being recruited by Urban Meyer at Ohio State.
Funny story about Urban is, I went to a high school and our colors were orange and navy blue. And I took a visit to Ohio State. He pulls me over to the sideline and he's introducing me to Ryan Shazier. We're having a great conversation. I'm meeting some Ohio State legends. And he just happens to look down at my feet and he sees I got on blue cleats. And when I tell you, he stomped, smushed my foot into the ground and told me he was going to pull my offer completely if I did not take those cleats off right then and there. And I thought he was joking. I mean, obviously, he stepped on my shoes and I'm like, okay, he's not joking about that, but is he really going to pull my offer? And I was like, I laughed it off. And then he just stood there and stared at me with these beady eyes. And I just sat down, unlaced my cleats, took them off. I was like, listen, please. I love Ohio State. I love you. You're a great coach. Like, let's not take it too far here. I'm just repping my school here, coach.
Thing or not a thing?
I love him, but Urban's a maniac. He's an absolute maniac. You used to do that with NFL scouts. They'd go into the Woody, like repping their team colors. You give them like give them Buckeye gear to cover up the blue. Yeah, I mean, he's a maniac. I mean, this cost him Damian Harris. Damian Harris was a 5-star running back. He ended up going to Alabama. So I don't know if this is part of what cost him it. Who knows? But I absolutely believe this story because he was maniacal when it came to that blue stuff. Absolutely.
Damian did end up saying later on in this exchange that it was something that was a little extreme for him, the whole situation. You wonder why Urban Meyer went 7-0, though, against that team up north. That's a little bit of a reason why there. He absolutely hated them and wanted no part of it. Urban Meyer wouldn't kick a kicker, though, would he?
No, I don't.
Stomped and smushed his foot.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's... Yeah, 5-star running back, number 1 running back in the country.
This came out about 9 o'clock this morning from David Hale and Andrea Adelson of ESPN. The worldwide leaders agreed to pick up its option to continue broadcasting ACC sports through 2036. The agreement is a crucial step forward towards securing stability for the conference. With the television deal settled, the ACC is now working towards a settlement with Clemson and Florida State that could end those schools' ongoing lawsuits against the conference. ESPN had until February 1st to pick up the option on that 20-year contract signed back in 2016. Had ESPN declined, the partnership would have ended after the 2027 season. Thing or not a thing?
I want to spend a little bit more time on this, but it's obviously them picking up the option is not a thing. It was always going to be a no-brainer. It's one of the best media rights deals that's ever been executed, and ESPN is not in the business because they have shareholders. They're not in the business of like just doing things for the good of their partners. Like they're going to make money, and they can make a lot of money on this ACC television package going forward. So a longer conversation needs to be had about it. Them picking up the option isn't a thing. The Florida State Clemson side of it very much is. And I think there is a slippery slope for ESPN if they go down this path. And I'll be curious to know how they do it. But I do think that could open a very different can of worms, and it's a can of worms we'll expand upon a little bit later in the show. But them picking it up is not a thing.
Bo, this is a thing for the ACC because if we talked about before, if you are not in bed and in business with ESPN, they do not promote you or they do not give you any coverage. The NHL, when they were not on ESPN, you never heard about it. But now that they're back with ESPN, you will see it on the front page. And so it's a big thing for the ACC because being on ESPN moves the needle a little more than the CW.
Yeah, they're kind of doing that thing. They're like, when I was working in Florida and they didn't pay much, they said, well, we pay in sunshine. And that's what ESPN's doing here. We're not going to actually compensate you what you're worth, but we're going to promote the heck out of you. That's kind of the trade-off, and I don't know if that'll work for the ACC or not. Quite honestly, they don't have a choice because they entered into a really bad agreement. Final hour of the program up next. Jody going to join from Vegas. We'll do a little higher or lower and expand upon this conversation we were just having. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
An encyclopedic knowledge of sports and other random things you may or may not care about.
I think I found my mentor.
Rockman and Ice.
Weekdays from noon to 3.
The Fan.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
...to...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom. Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. Member FDIC.
As of 9 a.m. this morning, our EV trucking company is officially in operation.
Andrew's zero-emission trucks are driving the transportation category forward.
We'll make driving safer, easier, and less stressful. Now our technology needs to keep up with demand.
He needs to put pedal to the metal on hiring more software engineers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey Ohio, Prime Sports has arrived, the only book where you can lay 108 instead of 110 on all your favorite teams. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, you name it. Why would you risk more to win the same amount at another sports book? Download the Prime Sports Ohio app or visit our website, primesportsbook.com. Use promo code JUSTSPORTS. Get a welcome bonus up to $100 and be a member of the Prime Sports family.
Terms and conditions apply. Visit website for details. Must be 21 or older and present in Ohio. If you or anyone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, Columbus, Brandon Beam here. I'm going to be at the new AT&T store at 1605 Georgesville Square Drive this Saturday from noon to 2 p.m. Bring your friends, bring your family, and let's have some fun. Again, at 1605 Georgesville Square Drive. See you out there.
Listen to Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles this Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on 1460 ESPN, covering topics like what you need to know about annuities and how to stay healthy and enjoy retirement. Financially Fit Radio this Saturday at 9 a.m. on 1460 ESPN.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. Center.
Good morning. I'm Eric Reeser. The Ohio State men's basketball team looks to get to 500 in conference play. Buckeyes are at Penn State tonight at 6:30. OSU's 4-5 in the Big Ten, 12-8 overall. Here tonight's game on The Fan with pregame coverage starting at 5:30. OSU's at number 18 Illinois Sunday at 1 o'clock. In college football, the Chicago Tribune reported Ohio State offensive line coach Justin Fry is interviewed for the same position with the Chicago Bears. Fry spent the last 3 seasons in Columbus. The New Orleans Saints are the last team in the NFL without a head coach. They've reportedly stopped interviewing candidates for the job. It's likely Eagles OC Kellen Moore, but he's unavailable until February 10th as Phillies play in Kansas City in Super Bowl 59 February 9th. In the NHL, the Blue Jackets are in Vegas tonight. Face-off against the Knights is 10 o'clock. Jackets are currently tied with the Lightning for the second wildcard spot in the East. They're at the Utah Hockey Club on Friday. You can hear that game and breaking sports news as it happens, all on The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Our top men are working on everything except this show. This is Bishop and Friends.
All right, final hour here on a Thursday edition of the program. A little bit of Shelly time coming up 30 minutes from now. We'll have that ACC television rights deal and what Florida State can or cannot get out of it. Also, Bruce Feldman with some thoughts on what the Buckeyes can be in 2025. You have that to look forward to, which is nice. Right now, however, time for a little higher or lower.
Bishop and Friends present Higher or Lower.
Oh, come on.
Today's higher or lower comes to us from On3, who did a top 10 list with their top college football players in the 2025 season. That's coming up soon, kids. I mean, we're almost into spring ball.
Be here before we know it.
At number 1, can't go any higher than the top spot, but Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State's spectacular wide receiver, takes the number 1 spot, followed by Arizona State quarterback Sam Leavitt, and then Ohio State safety Caleb Downs at number 3, South Carolina edge Dylan Stewart's at 4, Texas edge Colin Simmons is at 5. Higher or lower for Simmons there?
Well, there's a lot to get to here. Let's start with Jeremiah at the top. Who is the... Is it Beanie? Is it Terrell Pryor? It would have been Maurice Clarett, but you didn't get the second season with Maurice Clarett. Beanie was really good as a freshman. Terrell won the job as a freshman, and then as a sophomore, away you go was certainly the thought. Certainly nobody thought... You knew that Braxton had talent, but it wasn't... Not like... This is... I was just trying to think, what's the point of reference on this? It would have been Clarett had he got the second year, because it's the best freshman season anyone's had here since Maurice. But this burst on the scene, the idea that a kid who is a sophomore, who's played 1 year of college football, and you go poll people around the sport and say, who's the best player in the game? And the answer is unequivocally, yeah, it's him. He's the best one. Even just take the Ohio State part of it out of it. I think you got to go back to like Adrian Peterson to have a point of reference on Jeremiah Smith, where it was just a burst on the scene freshman who was universally viewed, oh, that's the best player in football. That's how Adrian Peterson was viewed at Oklahoma after that first year. It was, way to get a load of this kid. And then it was, you got to get through 2 more years before he can be a pro. But that's the only historical context I can think of for Jeremiah Smith in my time around the sport, of a guy who just burst on the scene like that as a freshman.
2 Buckeyes, and it may be hard because of the positions they played, but the 2 that came to mind right away for me, Bo, were Orlando Pace, who we talked a little bit about earlier in the show, and then the Big Cat. Both of them were phenoms right out of the gate.
Orlando, I got nothing on Pace. I remember Big Cat because I remember I was a kid in Montana at that time, but I still remember like the notion of, wait, they're giving him 45?
Mm-hmm.
What? Like that jersey's being issued? Like I remember that. And I do remember him being incredible right away. That Big Cat might be pretty good in terms of Jeremiah from an Ohio State perspective. I stand with the Adrian Peterson as the best non-Ohio State example of a guy who burst on the scene and then was immediately great as a true freshman.
Somebody in the YouTube chat has Michael Crabtree, who had a ridiculous freshman season at Texas Tech.
Yeah, he was. That's another one. Peterson, to me, is the most similar to Smith, though. And again, it's the overwhelming physicality.
Yeah, the physical skills.
That Adrian had at Oklahoma, similar to Jeremiah. I think Sam Levitt's too high on this list. He was a nice player at Arizona State. To have him number 2 returning player is just too high for me. I think you could argue you could go Jeremiah Smith, Caleb Downs 1 and 2, and I don't think that's scarlet and gray colored glasses. I think that's just who they are. I think Caleb Downs is going to go in the top 5 in the NFL draft as a safety, which is unheard of to be able to do that. So I think I'd go Smith, Downs 1, 2, and then Stewart was a freshman last year. Is Simmons a freshman too? Right?
Yeah, he was freshman of the year, remember?
Yeah, that's right. So you're going to have both of those guys are freshmen. So you're talking about, of their top 5, 3 of them are freshmen. Interesting. Very interesting.
I'll tell you what, Dylan Stewart is an absolute game wrecker for South Carolina. Every time you watch South Carolina play, you noticed number 6. He is a freak.
Yeah, I think I'm surprised there aren't more 3- and 4th-year guys in the top 5 here, but it also probably speaks to, and when you go through this, because there's another one down here a little bit later, man, this freshman class might be all-time freshman class. I'm also surprised Arch isn't on this list anywhere.
I was going to say it speaks to the freshman class, but I also think it speaks to anybody good enough to make this list is likely still here for a surprise, like Drew Aller. I don't know if surprise is the right word, or can't go to the NFL just yet.
Yeah.
At number 6, you've got Drew Aller. At number 7, you've got Alabama wide receiver Ryan Williams. At 8, Notre Dame corner Leonard Moore. Higher or lower for Moore at 8?
It'd be silly for me to comment on how great Leonard Moore is. Watched him play a handful of times. Ryan Williams is a stud. absolute
Yes.
stud at Alabama. Like he's not Jeremiah, but he's one rung below, and that's a high rung to get to that point. So he is real in every sense of the way, every meaning of the word. I also think Drew Aller here at 6, like for all of the talk that we do about Penn State and Franklin and all of it, like Drew Aller's been pretty good the last 2 years, and I would have him over Sam Leavitt, who's 2 on this. I would have him as the highest returning quarterback. I kind of agree with Finebaum on Nussmeier in terms of like what he actually was versus what I think people perceive him to be. To me, Drew Aller is the number 1 returning quarterback in college football. Until I see Carson Beck play with a repaired elbow, it'll be Aller would be that guy. So I would have him higher on this list. I would have, and Ryan Williams is good where he is, but he's absolutely real. If they can spin it, if Ty Simpson can spin it a little bit, Williams could explode. I mean, you got to remember, like Milroe's 62% passer. He had 16 touchdowns, 11 picks as a quarterback at Alabama, and most of it was to Ryan Williams. I mean, there was a game they targeted him like 18 times. So he's every bit real. They just didn't have the offensive wherewithal that the Buckeyes had this year.
I think you can make an argument that 4 of the top 5 on this list could be guys that were freshmen last season. I think you could argue that Jeremiah's number 1, Caleb's number 2, Dylan Stewart, Colin Simmons, and Ryan Williams in any order you like. I think you could make that argument that 4 sophomores would be in the top 5.
Ryan Williams, if memory, I mean, he should have been a senior in high school.
Yes, he was only 17 for half of the year.
So you want to know, this is one thing I do. I do this all the time with quarterbacks, and you can do it with the receivers too. Anytime I'm trying to see, like, well, how good were they really? So this is what Ryan Williams did at Tennessee, 8 catches for 73 yards and a touchdown in a loss. Here's what he did against number 2 Georgia, a game that Alabama won at the end of September. 6 for 177, including a 75-yarder and a touchdown. That's getting it done.
He's still 17.
Is he really?
Yeah, he turns 18 on February 9th.
And if you remember, if I believe right, that 75-yarder came right after Georgia had come back and retaken the lead.
You know, I'm looking at his game log. He fell off a cliff for them. He had that 8-catch performance that I mentioned against Tennessee. So this tells you that either Alabama didn't have any more weapons or they couldn't find a way to scheme him open. But his next few games against Missouri, 4 for 53, 2 for 29 against LSU, 3 for 36 against Mercer, 2 for 37 against Oklahoma, 3 for 53 against Auburn, and 3 for 8 against Michigan. So, like, first half of the year, he's in the running for, like, freshman of the year in the country. Last half of the year, not much. They got schemed out of it pretty quickly. But he's really, I can't believe he's just 17 still. That's crazy.
At 9 and 10, rounding out this top 10 college football players for next season, brought to you by On3. Alabama defensive lineman L.T. Overton is 9. Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love, the running back for the Irish, is at 10.
Yeah, I think what's interesting now, you say who's not on this list, who you think ought to be or you're surprised is not. And I think Arch Manning and Cade Klubnik are the 2 in my head that I look at. And then Beck, too. Like, I'm surprised. Carson Beck a year ago at this time was the betting favorite to be the number 1 pick in this year's NFL draft, and he's not on this list either. Those things are surprising to me. Is there anybody else around the country that you think to yourself, I'm shocked they're not on this? Those quarterbacks jump out to me.
Yeah, Arch, Klubnik. I'm trying to think if there's anyone at Oregon, maybe one of those receivers.
Yeah.
And if the running back at Oregon, is he coming back?
Good
I can't
question.
remember. So, yeah, I'm kind of surprised that there's not someone from Oregon. There's got to be someone at Georgia, right? That's a dude that you think should be on
Dog's
here.
not represented at all here. Yeah, they've got to have some well, who's the corner? Don't they have a freshman or sophomore corner? Yeah, it's weird that there's no Georgia representation either. 2 Irish, 2 Tide, 2 Bucks. Yeah, probably should be some Georgia guys, an Oregon guy on this mix in this mix as well, and then the 2 quarterbacks, Manning Klubnik are a little bit surprising on that side of things. All right, we'll continue with the business of the day. You'll hear from Bruce Feldman on why he thinks the Buckeyes have a chance to repeat. In addition to that, we'll take a look at the NCAA being sued again, and we'll have a little bit of a deeper dive on this ESPN deal with ACC and what it could mean at the top of that league and the can of worms it could open. We'll get to that coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Winners of the prestigious Platinum Microphone Award every year, given to the best radio station in the world. No need to look it up. It's real. The Fan.
Getting cold feet? Call Care Heating and Cooling and we'll fix your furnace fast. Call 1-800-COOLING.
Get your seat in the shop to watch Ohio State men's ice hockey this Thursday, January 30th and Friday, January 31st. Join the Buckeyes as they take on Michigan State. There are only a few more home series left, so don't miss the chance to see the Buckeyes at home. Buy your tickets at ohiostatebuckeyes.com.
Hey, it's Anthony. I got to tell you, when you don't have the support you need, it affects everything. Feet, knees, hips, back, even your mood. I finally went to the Good Feet store, and once I was personally fitted for my arch supports, I felt a ton better. I will never wear another pair of shoes again without sliding in my personally fit Good Feet arch supports. That's because they help me eliminate my foot pain. It's such a good feeling knowing that I can be on my feet and not worrying about I'm going to wake up with low back pain or feel a weakness somewhere. I trust the Good Feet store because for more than 30 years, they've helped thousands of people just like me get back to feeling comfort on a daily basis. They take pleasure in that. And it's their personal 3-step system designed to support, balance, and strengthen your feet that guides them into their ideal position. I'm the proof. I wear them every day, even when I'm biking at the gym. So go in, take the free test walk at the Good Feet store on Polaris Parkway and on Stringtown Road in Grove City or goodfeet.com.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing?
I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online.
I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy?
Yes, Zelfie can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door.
How do I get started with Zelfie?
Just send them a text.
Text CORE to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic, but for 80 to 90% less and 100% online. Don't wait. Text CORE to 200-300 right now. For a link to your exclusive offer, text CORE to 200-300. That's CORE to 200-300. CORE to 200-300.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Well, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Hi, here are some ways to listen to The Fan. You can download the Fan app or listen at home on your smart speaker or open up the iHeartRadio app or hold your head out the window and hear Common Man scream. Happy listening from the dopes at The Fan.
Have you ever told a friend?
Oh, I'm fine.
When you really felt?
Just so overwhelmed.
Or sent a text? Can't sleep. Are you awake? When you couldn't find the words to say? I'm scared to be alone with my thoughts right now. Then this is your sign to reach out to the 988 Lifeline for 24/7 free confidential support. You don't have to hide how you feel. Text, call, or chat anytime.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Cloud cover will be increasing as we head into the afternoon. Today's high 48. Rain comes in this evening between about 6 and 8 p.m. It'll be raining pretty heavily on your Friday morning. It'll be warm tomorrow with a high of 58. Colder on Saturday, but the sunshine returns with a high of 41. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 TV weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
Common Man has spent the past 18 years telling you how much he hates people. And yes, that probably means you, too. Common Man and T-Bone.
Weekdays at 3.
The Fan. We'll read your emails on the air, but we won't tell you where to send them. Hey, we're not doing all the work for you. This is Bishop and Friends.
All right, we had this story in Thing or Not a Thing. Reese read earlier in terms of ESPN's deal with the ACC. We've talked about this a bunch through the years. It was really a hot topic around conference expansion. And I remember it was probably about a year ago, I had folks down in Tallahassee saying, hey, the Noles are coming to the Big Ten. I'm like, I never heard that from anybody at the Big Ten that was the case, but God bless you. They had all of those open board meetings, and they had former quarterback Drew Weatherford coming on and saying, hey, we're going to do private equity and we're going to sell part of the future of it and all of this so we can get out of this deal. And the reality is the deal that they had signed with the AC was pretty close to as ironclad as you're going to find. And that unless you write a big check the way that Maryland did, you're stuck. And now we know that ESPN did the smart business move, and they're going to stay in the ACC business through 2036, which is what we've all known all along. The one thing that is interesting here is there is an acknowledgement that they will try to make it better for Clemson and Florida State. And while I would not argue that those are the two best football brands in that conference, I don't know that they're demonstratively better at their best than North Carolina or Miami. And I think you open up an incredible can of worms when you start to say that this member of our conference is worth more than the other members of the conference. And if you're looking for an example of how this went really, really poorly, consider the Big 12, who did exactly this with Texas and said Texas can operate their own television deal and they're worth a little bit more than everybody else. And when you give somebody like Texas that type of financial freedom, what did they do? As soon as they could, they went running for the hills, and they got to the SEC. So the ACC, now you can't get out of the ACC deal, but I do think you could have a situation where if I'm the athletic director at North Carolina, and if I start to get less of a share than Florida State or Clemson, I'm saying to myself, well, wait a second. Of all the teams in this league that everybody wants, we're it.
So this proposed plan, or one of a proposals floated by the ACC, a percentage of their television revenue would be included in a brand fund. That money would be then distributed to schools that annually generate the most revenue for the conference in football and men's and women's basketball. So that would, if you were to go by the two teams that they put into the college football playoff, then that doesn't get distributed evenly. SMU and Clemson, and probably rightfully so, keep a bigger share of that.
So they're going to do a performance-based?
That's what it sounds like and it looks like, but then I can hear it in the back of my head. Well, what about the Title IX? Or what about Title IX within regards to other schools? And is that money distributed to those other schools? And does that money, when it hits the other schools, get distributed evenly there?
I don't think this would affect Title IX because you're just giving it to those schools. What they do with it would still fall under Title IX. It would just be the schools that make the most money with football and men's basketball just get the most. So that would still be distributed evenly amongst the schools, sports teams that are there. That's interesting. To go from a performance base, if you're good, then you're going to get the most, that side of it. I don't know if a school like Florida State can survive long enough at the top of the sport to get there.
Yeah, ESPN seems pretty confident because this is reporting from ESPN about something that ESPN has reportedly done. So all of that with the biggest grain of salt possible. This article on ESPN, should that agreement be finalized, the one with the brand fund, something sources said is not imminent but was closely tied to the ESPN option, Clemson and Florida State then would be expected to drop their lawsuits. So this is one of those, well, what would you like? This is us trying to acquiesce there, so you stop. I mean, there was so bad at one point, Florida State was going to the Saudis.
Yeah, they were trying to find private equity to buy them out of it and to sell future part of their branding and the ability. And I still think that's could be down the road in college athletics where you sell. Yeah, where you sell a certain percentage. Look, here's the reality. They're going to do everything in their power to avoid calling college athletes employees. So whatever they need, they'll go to the Saudis, they'll go anywhere to go to Putin, whatever you need to make sure that we keep this thing as it is, and these guys are not employees. These guys and girls are not employees. That will be their job going forward. I think it's a tough spot. It's going to go down as one of the worst deals ever signed, that ACC ESPN deal. The fact that they were so worried about the breakup of their conference that they signed away television rights through 2036 in an era where anybody wants anything to do with college athletics is absolutely wild that they did it at that time. And there is, by all intents and purposes, is no way out of it. They're kind of all just stuck. We're having a conversation about The Athletic and their way too early top 25. Bruce Feldman was on the Big Ten Network and weighed in on the Buckeyes and what we can expect through this spring and by the time we get to next season.
So you should try to do it again in a different way, because I would argue they will have the two best players in the best offensive player and the best defensive player in college football. And honestly, the best overall player in Jeremiah Smith. I mean, you have an incredible receiver. You have an incredible defensive back and Caleb Downs, who's a leader. You have two guys who are complete tone setters in terms of their prep. I mean, they're phenomenal athletes, but in terms of their mental preparation and their competitiveness, I think those are great building blocks. Having been around Ohio State a lot, not just this past year, but the year before that, there's a lot of really good players that are still there. You know, I've seen a lot of Julian Sayin, who's the young quarterback who had started out at Alabama, transferred there. I think he can be pretty special. You look at what they already did in the portal. We're talking about they added two big-time offensive tackles. One of them came from Rice, a guy a lot of staffs thought was the number one offensive lineman in the portal, 6'5", 345, and can move. You add a tight end from Purdue, who a lot of people think kind of reminds them of, as a Zach Ertz type. And again, they have recruited exceptionally well. I would be more surprised if they're not in the playoff next year than, no matter what they had to replace. I'd be shocked if they weren't, because I think they're that good. I think they're well positioned to be a top 5 team again. I think people are crazy if you think they're going to fall off.
Well, I don't think anybody thinks that. I think every preseason poll we've seen, they're in the top 5. A lot have them number 1. I haven't seen them any lower than 2 or 3 in any of these way too early things. There's no scenario where next year, barring catastrophic injury to multiple players, that it's not a playoff team. I mean, that's unthinkable in a 12-team playoff world.
And again, it's all going to go back to the quarterback, right? Like if the quarterback, and we think that Sayin is the guy, and we think obviously he was the number 1 quarterback, and Lincoln Keenhol's come in highly rated, Tavian St. Clair. We think one of them is going to jump up and take hold of this job and be good enough. Worst case scenario is, though, one of them isn't, and that's how the wheels could fall off.
Yeah, I don't believe that they missed on. They'd have to miss on 3 of them. I don't think they missed on
that. I can't see.
No, I don't think so. Just go through the schedule and say 10-2. You do that, you're in. Okay, Texas in the opener, tough. That's a coin flip game. Talent equates game. Arch Manning obviously has more experience than Sayin or whoever we run out there in that game. So that's a coin flip. Then it's Grambling at home. It's Ohio at home. All due respect, Reese, you're at worst 2-1. At Seattle against Washington, I like my chances. Minnesota at home. Illinois in Champaign. Not so fast, Bielema.
Could be chesty.
Not that chesty.
Will be chesty, but not chesty enough to actually get a win.
No. Luke and Madison follows that. Then Penn State here. Purdue and West Lafayette. UCLA here. Rutgers here. Michigan. That's the schedule. They're going 10-2.
Are you saying that's the floor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's just no way they miss on all 3 of them. Does Julian Sayin struggle to get off the ground in the first game? Okay. I'd buy that for his first collegiate start against Texas in the game of the season. Something everybody's got circled. Sure, see some struggles there, but the college football playoff's shown us that you can bounce back from that and still have a season where you're hoisting a trophy at the end of it.
I know we've talked about this in the past, and I know that that's not necessarily what we're talking about right now, but how did the Big Ten drop the ball in the first 2 years of USC being in the conference, and they are not on Ohio State's schedule?
You picking at old wounds here, bud?
Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
It's crazy. Crazy that would not have been the opener, quite honestly. Should have been Ohio State, USC should have been the opener. And they didn't do it. And honestly, to not even run back Oregon on the schedule is pretty wild to me, to not do that. That was a make good because they missed the game in COVID out there. So that wasn't even one that they initially had as a schedule. No, it's ridiculous. At least you go to Seattle. That's fun. And remember, this will be the last year for Penn State on the schedule. Well, this game here on November 1st, that'll be the last time that Penn State plays here for a while. So, no, they did the opposite of playing the hits. That's what they did. Thank goodness you got the Texas game at home to kind of kick things off, because otherwise it's tough sledding out there. Your home games are not what they ought to be in any way, shape, or form. Blue Jackets out in Sin City, taking on the Golden Knights. A little bit of Shelley time from the desert coming up in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Everyone deserves a fast and reliable connection, one that helps better their everyday through the things they value most: friends and family, education and career. A connection that opens pathways to opportunity and builds roads to a better future. At Spectrum, we're committed to delivering just that every single day. Because with the right connection, anything is possible. That's Life Unlimited. That's Spectrum.
Need inspiration? Shop Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals with savings beyond low prices. Like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
You'll find low prices on thousands of items. The yellow and red tags mean you'll save big on sparkling ice water, Kroger brand chips, and so much more. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
I'm Leslie from Pella Columbus.
And I'm Wilson from that other window place.
At Pella, we use the newest technology to show you exactly how new windows would look on your home.
Well, we keep it simple at our window place. We use a number 2 pencil to draw what your house will look like with our new windows. See?
Oh yeah, that definitely looks like a number 2.
Thank you, Leslie. Wait, I see what you did there.
Get the windows that Columbus homeowners rate the leading and most trusted at PellaColumbus.com.
Let's get it started.
Lindsay Honda starts this year off by giving you cash for your clunker. Up to $2,500 or $3,500 minimum for any trade. It's Lindsay Honda's Cash for Clunkers. 2025 CRVs and Ridgelines, both $299 a month. That's $299 a month or clunker cash going on now.
The lot is full and the deals are on.
See lindsayhonda.com for program details.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Drop the gloves. It's Shelly time.
Sponsored by Schottenstein Roofing, proud partner of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
All right, Jackets and Golden Knights tonight, 10 o'clock in Sin City. For perspective, a little bit of Shelley time on the Brian Heating Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. We've been in Vegas for a long time now as a league. One of the things that I remember in other leagues was when you would go down to Miami and play, and the Heat, especially in basketball, took big advantage of this. And I'm sure this is the same way in hockey to a certain extent, although the arena is a little bit further away from all the action in hockey. How much does Vegas benefit from opposing teams coming in and having all that Sin City has at their disposal? And do you guys stay, in an effort to curb that, do you guys stay away from the action, as it were?
Yeah, we stay right around the corner from the rink, but we're in a hotel that doesn't have a casino. So It takes a little bit of an effort to get to that kind of action. But I think maybe the first few years they did, and there are teams that come and stay here for 3 days. You know, they'll build their rookie dinner in around this. But as far as this goes, we flew in yesterday, and we'll do the game tonight, and then fly to Salt Lake City tonight after the game. It's I think it's a pretty tame trip to Vegas for the boys.
Is this the best?
There is what they call the Vegas flu, which is the away team coming in and probably staying up too late.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do there. There's no clocks, so you have no idea what time it is.
There's no windows, right?
No windows, no clocks. Everything looks the same. It's hard to know. Is this the best? Is this the best expansion effort in the history of that league?
I think it has to be, right? And they were the first professional sports team to come in. Now, of course, there's football. There's talks of, they're all going to come in here now, but it's spectacular. I mean, because they come in. First year, did they make it to the conference final? Was it?
I think so.
And then they won a Stanley Cup, and now they're in a position where they are doing nothing but cranking out teams, and they're not reckless. They're just the way they operate is they have player Jack Eichel. How do you get Jack Eichel? Well, Jack Eichel was injured. He had a neck injury. No one wanted to take a risk on him. Now it's genius, right?
Sure.
Stone is their captain. He's a great player out of Ottawa. They've picked up a lot of pieces, but they've done a really good job with not only the location here, but we'll see a lot of Blue Jackets fans here today, the venue, and then how they approach their team for success. It's been a home run.
It's just so smart to be there first. Like the NHL got there first. And I talked to a lot of NFL in the afternoon, and one of the complaints that they have with the Raiders, which is an iconic brand, is that they don't really have a home field because it's so many opposing fans. And you alluded to it. Look, it's always going to be the place where opposing teams want to go to. But it feels like they were kind of like Vegas's first passion is the Golden Knights. And whatever happens with the A's in baseball, or when inevitably they get a basketball team, like the Golden Knights got there first. And there's something to be said for that.
You know what? That's interesting because there's a lot of excitement for the Golden Knights. Like you go into a restaurant, you walk through the casino floor on a game day. Like they have the Golden Knights colors on. They're in on the Golden Knights. So you're right. It's their baby. And of course, when they won the Stanley Cup, the people kind of understood. It brought the excitement to a new level. So they love the players. You see the visibility of them around. But being the first ones here, that's kind of, you see more locals.
Yeah.
That are passionate about the team because of that. This is their team. And it's a great setup for players because they practice. It's about 20 minutes away, the practice facility, world class. And then, the suburbs are really nice. So the guys love playing here.
Yeah, lots to like. This is kind of a odd little scheduling quirk in that we haven't played since Saturday, Jode. Yeah. What has this little mini break, kind of mini bye week, how is Dean Evison and the staff, how have the players put this to use?
A little rest, a lot of practice, which guys love, and a chance for guys to kind of, Cole Sillinger's going to be back. He was out. He had a problem that he couldn't play, and if there was more games, you probably would have had to wait or see how it was in the warm-up, but he got to work through that. So it's great. I mean, now they have a back-to-back, go into Dallas, and then roll into Buffalo. So I love the way the schedule is set up, especially the way they're playing. January's been a really good month for the Blue Jackets. They played really well. They've got results. And now, coming into Vegas here tonight, it was a good team. They've had a little bit of blip in the way their results, but they always play the same way. This will be an excellent test for this team. And Dean Evison is really good with his staff on using time well. And, working on power plays, getting his line settled, and just taking it up a little bit because there's, 6 or 7 games before the break. So there's a big push on right now.
Yeah, there is. And it's certainly buoyed by what happened in the win against L.A. over the weekend. The Marchenko goal to win it.
Yeah.
It's an all-timer. I mean, it's beautiful. A little Bobby Orr to it, everything.
You know what? He's got he's impressive, isn't he? I mean,
yes, he is.
You know, he's big, he's talented. And some of those guys sometimes, you know, you lose them in some situations, right? Or he goes into a battle and you're wondering, as a skilled guy, and I'm talking about coming into this season, you know, how's he going to be in those? He's been great. I mean, he's blowing guys up. And the way he cut towards the net in that goal, fearless, and then he's got that touch and that feel to put it in. That was a great night. Another great night at Nationwide Arena. There was a lot of energy in that building, and he's a player that, you know, at that moment. And the thing about this team, they've got enough skill, but they're putting work ahead of skill, just, you know, which is kind of their mindset. And then you see it come out in moments like that. It's a great combination of a lot going on with this team.
That's when you know you have something, what you just said there, Jode. That's when you have the work, and then you have elite skill. That's how you build a cup. I mean, that's how you go build a team that could go be a contender, is you get them to play the right way, and then, by the way, they're really talented. Right?
Yeah.
That's when it comes. That's it.
The opposing teams, like, when they're writing their names on the board, they're like, oh, this team's actually pretty good. You know, of course they watch them, but it's like the talent of Kent Johnson, Cole Sillinger, Marchenko, Werenski, you know, Fantilli. It just you see how they're going to be, where they fit in. You know what I mean? I think now we sit back and we expect, okay, this guy's going to be in this situation. This opportunity is going to come to this kid. Or there's surprises too, where, you know, guys are getting 3-on-3 time. Olivier's on the power play. I mean, it's like with Sillinger out. There's some guys you hear about players stepping up with opportunity. We're seeing it right before our eyes with a lot of these guys.
Yes. What can you tell me about Boone? He's on the trip, huh? Do I have that right?
Yeah, he's on the trip. Yeah, I don't know. We haven't skated yet. It's 8:30 here, so we're going to go over at 10:30 for the skate. I mean, he's excited. You know, I mean, he's the captain. Guys have him around. It's a different feel. I mean, it's just he's smiling. He's excited. The guys around him are excited. I don't know if we'll see him on this trip. I would love to. I'd love to see him play a couple games before the break, but the indicator that he's on a 4-game trip tells me that we might. So, but that's just me thinking. Yeah. I'm an optimistic guy, so we'll see.
Glasses half full always, brother, always.
So.
What about Monahan? What are you hearing on that side of things?
Yeah, he had surgery, so it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks. So it's going to be probably 7 weeks from now, which puts us pretty tight to the end of the year. So, right? Is it that
that gets there. Yeah, it felt like
right there.
Felt like with a lot of those, like you kind of were hoping you could get him for the outdoor game, is kind of what you want to have on that, but that's probably out of touch now, out of reach.
That's out of touch. Well, you know, I've seen guys wear those hand braces after surgery, so I mean, don't rule them out. But you know, as far as what we've heard, it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks after the surgery. So that's where he's at with that.
Where are you on? Obviously, Vegas is legit. There's one of the really great teams, great operations. Yeah. We're coming off a little bit of a break. What do you expect to see tonight? Any sort of shuffling in lines? I know you haven't been over there yet. They haven't done that yet. But just what's kind of your feeling on what we could see tonight?
I think they're going to go 12 forwards tonight. Danforth's back, or Danforth's going to be on the fourth line with Corrali, and I think Sillinger's right back in that spot with Olivier and Aston Reese. JVR is going to be with he's going to have him and Kent Johnson have a really good thing going on.
They sure do.
And then Luca Del Bel Baluz is going to be in between them, which I like. I like that line. They're pretty dynamic. So, and that kid is doing some great things. And on D, I think they're going to have to go back to 6D. So I think they're back to kind of a normal lineup with Sillinger back and Luca Del Bel Baluz playing so well. I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to maybe that kid stays here for a while. We'll see, but they're going to have a lot of bodies here soon, and they're going to have some tough decisions to make.
I was just doing the math as you're going through that. I'm like, well, wait a second. You got too many dudes for spots.
Yeah. they've done a really good job. And how about the center ice position?
Yeah.
And you talk about Monahan coming back. Well, if that at some point, as if it's end of the year playoffs, now you've got a real deep center ice position, which has improved immensely, and you've got a lot of NHL players. So it's going to be interesting here before the break to see if any trades happen. There was a huge trade with Colorado. Mikko Rantanen. I mean, one of the stars amongst stars is he gets traded to Carolina. And it'd be interesting to see how other teams react here before the break. And then the deadline's the 9th of March or 7th. So it's coming here quick.
Did that surprise you from the Avs perspective?
Yeah, it really did. I mean, it really did. I mean, I think it's like McDavid, Draisaitl.
Right.
You have the Gretzky, Curry, but they also have Makar, who's going to probably be the highest paid player in the league here once he signs his contract in 2 years. So, and they're also paying their captain Landeskog, and he's not playing he hasn't played hockey in 2.5 years. So there's a lot of money out and planned money. But when you have McKinnon and Rantanen, I mean, I was very surprised.
Me too.
I was very surprised. But hey, good on Carolina to pull the trigger and get that done.
They're as all in as can be. Carolina's, they need a
goalie. I think they need a goalie.
Yeah.
They've got Freddie Anderson, who's been banged up the last couple of years. Their defense got a little thinner this year. They do play a hard brand of hockey, but I think, I don't know. I mean, you always get a little picky, right? They have a heck of a team with Rantanen now, but I think they could use a little bit better goaltending.
All right. There you go. Enjoy Vegas. Enjoy the trip to Salt Lake overnight, and we'll talk to you tomorrow, buddy.
All right. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks, Bo.
All right. It's a little bit of Shelley time for you on the Brian Heating Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. We hit 3 things on a Thursday up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
A lot of hosts have been on our airways in the past 30 years. Some good, some bad, some really bad. Anyway, sorry for that. The Fan.
Amazon Business offers smart business buying solutions, so you can spend more time growing your business and less time doing the admin. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
Ready for the big game and stock up on home team favorites like buy 5, save $5 deals at Meyer. Mix or match hundreds of items like assorted varieties of DiGiorno frozen pizza, 24 packs of Coca-Cola or Pepsi products, plus deposit where applicable. And Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue or marinade sauce. Buy 5, save 5 this week at Meyer. That's the good life. A good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in-store or in the Meyer app.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Aaron, look what I invented.
Jerry, you're wearing a cape.
Get Eco.
ECO.
What is it that you promise our customers, Aaron?
We come through for you when you need us to.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Do you know who does that, Aaron?
We do?
Superheroes do that, Aaron. Superheroes!
I'm guessing you make capes for everyone?
That's right. Every plumber, electrician, and HVAC technician. But I'm not done, Aaron. I'm not done.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Now I'm inventing jetpacks so we can fly to the rescue like proper superheroes. Now say your line again.
We come through for you when you need us to?
No, say it like this. We come through for you when you need us to.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Jerry.
Yeah, Aaron?
How about we put those capes in the closet until you get the jetpacks perfected?
We'll look right when we take flight.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Eco. Plumbers, electricians, and HVAC technicians. GetEco.com.
The New Year's celebration is come and gone, but my friends at Germain Honda of Dublin are still offering those great deals. Rich is sticking with rates starting as low as 0% and leases starting from only $249 a month. Test drive the Prologue, the new all-electric SUV from Honda. And how about the very popular CR-V LX all-wheel drive? A 25 lease is only $349 a month for 36 months with $19.99 down. See the dealer for all these amazing details. Germain Honda of Dublin on Sawmill Road, just south of 270.
Home values in Columbus are sky high, and you have a ton of equity. Your financial advisor thinks the market has peaked. So if you're thinking about selling, it's time. Except for 2 things. High interest rates will burn you on a new home loan, and you're not ready to move. Savvy financial advisors suggest Truehold's new Sell and Stay program. It's ingenious because they buy your home now while its value is high, but you can stay in your home as long as you want with an easy, affordable lease. Smart, right? Truehold will make you a solid cash offer, not a lowball offer like the others. It's based on your home's current value. The cash is yours to travel, pay off bills, or secure your retirement. And again, you can stay in your home with a comfortable lease. Truehold covers property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. See how much Truehold will pay for your home today. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out your home's value without moving. That's Truehold.com.
Morning Juice.
I've actually got a speaking engagement in Lima on a Wednesday.
Lima or Lima?
Yeah, Peru.
Let's took a train from Springfield up to Lima.
Morning Juice is sponsored by Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Weekday mornings at 6. The Fan.
I'm an old school Joe, and my philosophy is real simple and effective. It's not what you win or lose, it's what you save. And betting reduced juice at Prime Sports Ohio is the way to save money on every single bet. Download the Prime Sports Ohio app or visit our website, primesportsbook.com. Use promo code JUSTSPORTS. Get a welcome bonus up to $100 and be a member of the Prime Sports family.
Terms and conditions apply. Visit website for details. Must be 21 or older and present in Ohio. If you or anyone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
The Fan Guest Hotline is sponsored by Weston Air Heating and Cooling and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep you and your home comfortable. The Fan.
When General Sherman marched through Georgia, he was listening to this show.
Use your skills for good, young warrior.
This is Bishop and Friends.
All right, Reese, what do you have on the poll today?
Tonight with the Buckeyes, who are at Penn State, and the Blue Jackets, who are in Las Vegas. The fan poll asks, will they both win? Will they both lose? Will Ohio State win and the Jackets lose? Or will the Jackets win and Ohio State loses? 54% of respondents to the Daily Fan poll say they're both going to win tonight. 17% say they're both going to lose, you haters. 15% say Ohio State's going to win, but then Jackets is going to lose in Vegas. 12% say the Jackets are going to win in Vegas, but Ohio State's going to lose in Happy Valley.
I have to think, and I was talking about this with Jody, I have to think that Vegas has one of the great home ice advantages in the sport. You can't help but be distracted. And I was curious, like it was interesting that he mentioned, like they stay at a hotel right by the rink that doesn't have a casino, but that rink is adjacent to a great many casinos. When the NFL goes there, they're not anywhere near it. They're well out.
Like stay in Reno.
Yeah, they're not. They go to Mesquite. Like they're not anywhere near it. I think it's a tough sledding for the Jackets out there. But the Buckeyes ought to handle the business tonight. Won a couple of games in a row. A Penn State team that's below them in the standings at 3-7. Yeah, I mean, I think I would go Buckeyes win. My hunch is Buckeyes win, Blue Jackets lose. This is one for Jake with all they've been through, and it's a lot. If he can get this one and get to 5-5 in the league, 13-8 overall, now you're talking.
Yep.
Now you can build a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, they need this one tonight. Penn State has always seemed to be a thorn in the side of the Buckeyes, though. It makes me nervous, but they need this one tonight.
Yeah, back in the day, not. Like when Thad was in the mix, not. Jake's little brother, John, had a game against Penn State that is an all-timer. So hopefully they can get a little bit of that Diebler magic over in State College this evening. 6:30 on that, but 5:30 for the tip-off?
Yep, you'll get warmed up gently by Timmy Hall at 5:30.
All right, there you go. Let's do a little three things. Hit it, fellas.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3 things.
Sponsored by Custom Air. Custom Air. Custom Solutions. Custom Comfort.
Number one for me. Look, I get it. It's silly season. NFL-wise, you've got the Senior Bowl this week, but you're waiting on the Super Bowl. it's a Super Bowl that we've seen before, and we've talked a lot about those two teams before, so there's not a whole lot of intrigue there. So people are pivoting to the draft. They're pivoting to free agency. We're in silly season here in college football, right? Like, you're looking ahead to something 8 months from now and having those conversations. With all that being said, there are folks right now who are talking so wildly inaccurate about the Cleveland Browns and their intent this offseason that it is startling to hear. It feels like there just is no consequence. Like, you just say anything and it doesn't matter. And it's the damnedest thing. I mean, I always felt like any show I've ever done, any show, like anything, I've never been someone to just make stuff up. And there's a lot of that going on. And I understand. They have the number 2 pick. I get it. I understand that it's going to drive interest, all of it. But some of this stuff is just so off base and so out of left field and so just not the reality that it's wild to see. It truly is. And I don't see it on any of the other things that we talk about all the time. I don't see these wild inaccuracies on Buckeyes. I don't see them on Bengals. But my God, do I see them on Browns.
Speaking of wild, Cam Newton's hat selection, it varies. And I'm watching through the break on First Take, Cam Newton offer opinion on Caitlin Clark passing on the NBA's All-Star Game 3-point contest. Now, the only thing I can focus on is what looks to be he dipped his hat in paint, like blue paint, like you would a Maker's Mark bottle, or it looks like it was spilled onto his hat. And then thinking to myself, I don't know if there's anybody I'd want to hear from less than Cam Newton on Caitlin Clark, whom also, I believe, said, I'm taking individual success because I did my job, when asked about if he'd rather have his MVP or a Super Bowl victory. Which he might be the only one.
Yeah. He's I think, the trivia answer for the greatest single season anyone's ever had in the history of college football, all things considered. Even more so than Burrow because of the lack of talent around him. But yeah, his choices since in the pros and a lot of it. And there was a time when you could argue he was as dominant as any player in the sport. When he won the MVP and took them to a Super Bowl, he was pretty much undefendable. And
weren't they 15-1 that year? Something crazy like that.
Something like that. 15-1 or 14-2. Yeah, it was crazy.
Guys, you know I love the high school sports, especially high school football, but we've got tournaments coming up here in March for hockey and girls basketball and boys basketball. So I'm starting to pay attention to those things a little more as we head down the stretch of their seasons. The Hartley girls basketball team beat Olentangy Berlin 68-64 the other night. Their guard Pinky Burnett set a school record with 40 points in the game and a single game 3-pointers record with 9. Congratulations to you, Pinky. Have a night.
40 of 68? That's getting after it.
That's big time.
That's getting after it. Number 2 for me, my dad got in yesterday. I had practice with the boys, and when I left for practice with the boys, he was watching some college basketball game. When I got home 3 hours later, he was watching a college basketball game, and it just occurred to me that, if sports are on, he'll watch it. He has no rooting interest. I don't know that he cares about Ole Miss or Texas or Alabama and Mississippi State, but by God, he watched. It's an old school way of going about it, man. If sports are on, he's watching it.
I was going to ask, did he just misplace the clicker? And
could have been.
Well, it's on, so
just keep watching.
That's where my eyeballs will be. Kelsey Conway of the Cincinnati Enquirer got a one-on-one with Duke Tobin, and I would encourage everybody to go read this. Maybe not Bengals fans, because it is a frustrating one. Tobin on their desire to re-sign T. Higgins. It's going to be hard. We feel like we have the resources to do it, but all depends on how the negotiation goes and whether they're willing to accept wanting to come back at a number that makes sense for everybody. And you know what we do with T going forward. I've always been very upfront about my desire to have T. Higgins on our team. I've never not been upfront with that, and that desire continues. But we have to be able to come together with his representation on what that means and what the right number is for his experience, for his playtime, for his production, end quote.
So in other words, we need him to give us a deal, a hometown discount.
There's just no pie for him.
No, there isn't.
Not enough pie.
Two teams in the NFL who are paying wide receivers more than $25 million. Can you name them? Only 2.
Dolphins.
Yep.
It's not the Vikings.
Is it the Eagles?
It's the Eagles. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. That's it. Those two. Dolphins and Eagles. Now, both of them won, and the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, so you can do it. But the Bengals have to do what the Eagles... They have not done what the Eagles do, which is they land on their defensive draft picks. And that's something that they just haven't done.
Guys, one of the beautiful things about not having a set schedule for like the past 15 years of my life has been I've been able to avoid traffic pretty well. I could plan things around, plan my schedule around, move things to where I didn't really have to deal with traffic. Now that I'm here every day at a set time, I feel like I am dealing with traffic a little more. And I think the last 15 years of not dealing with it has made it worse for me dealing with it now. I really need to, I don't know, maybe take some herbal tea or something before I drive to calm myself down.
Yeah, there's gummies. They're available. Get yourself all lubed up. No time for 3 day, just 2. Rothman and Ice up next. We're back tomorrow on a Friday edition. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
The Big Nine was a sad, incomplete place. Enter Ohio State. The rest is history. The Buckeye Show.
Weeknights at 6.
The Fan. This is a Fan Action Update.
This Action Update is sponsored by Logan Services. Free furnace with the purchase of an AC. National championship odds in college basketball. Duke is the favorite at plus 415. Auburn second, plus 450. Houston comes in at plus 650. Then it's Iowa State 11-1. Alabama 14-1. Florida and Tennessee 20-1. Your first Big Ten teams, Michigan State at 30-1. For your Logan Services Action Update, I'm Scotty Vegas.
What's going on, world? It's your boy Kevin Hart with some exciting news. I am coming to a city near you. My new tour is called Acting My Age, and I want to see you there. Come out, have a good night, a good time. It's all new material in a much, much more intimate setting. Go get your tickets and head to KevinHartNation.com now.
Comedy superstar Kevin Hart brings his new tour, Acting My Age, to Schottenstein Center on Friday, May 16th. Tickets on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. at LiveNation.com and KevinHartNation.com.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting rules for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing?
I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online.
I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy?
Yes, Zelfie can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door.
How do I get started with Zelfie?
Just send them a text.
Text CORE to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic, but for 80 to 90% less and 100% online. Don't wait. Text CORE to 200-300 right now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text CORE to 200-300. That's CORE to 200-300. CORE to 200-300.
It's playoff time, and you can take full advantage by winning some cash playing daily fantasy football on Sleeper Picks. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. And now, Sleeper has a special offer. New users just have to play $5 to get $55 in free entries. Download the Sleeper app today and use code SCORE and get $55 in free entries when you play $5. That's code SCORE. Must be at least 18 years old. Promo code, location, and other restrictions apply. Minimum deposit $25. See terms of use for details. Please play responsibly. Call 1-800-426-2537 for help.
Adam Schefter here with Vivid Seats. We've got some late-breaking news coming out of the stands. According to multiple sources, Vivid Seats fans are scoring rewards on every purchase and at a rapid pace. Obviously, these rewards are a game changer, and coupled with their MVP-worthy ticket selection, why get tickets anywhere else? Don't drop the ball this season. Shop with Vivid Seats and earn rewards on every ticket. And as the official ticketing partner of ESPN, Vivid Seats is offering you $20 off your first $200 ticket purchase with code Schefter. That's code